Hi and welcome along to DR Sports. We are here with a transfer deadline day special. We're going to round up all of the big transfer stories of the day. We're going to be taking you around all the clubs and seeing who's had the best transfer window. We're on Mo Salah watch, Alex. Right,
Inshallah,
because
he does not leave.
A big offer has come in from Saudi Arabia for Mo Salah, and there's 2 hours to go. Well, we say 2 hours. They can keep.
They can keep betting. They can keep putting chips down.
So we're going to be on Mo Salah watch, and to go through all the transfer activity, we're joined by Fuad.
Yes.
Right,
sir.
Alex AGT is here, and my brother Laurie is in the building as well.
Come on.
And yeah, you know what? Let's start with that. Let's start with that Mo Salah, the Mo Salah thing, because it's another one of these Saudi Arabian teams who've gate crashed this transfer window in style. They've taken so many big players. Al Ittihad, a bid of £150 million rejected by Liverpool, but there's a lot of talk that they might come back in with another bid of 175 million. At what level does it get to that you think Liverpool say to themselves, you know what? Great as Mo Salah is, 31 years of age, let's just take the money.
350.
What?
But that's only because there's an hour to go, 2 hours to go. But obviously they've got till Thursday, so they can keep putting chips on the table, waiting for us to fold and accept. My only worry is that FSG, I say worry as a Liverpool fan who loves Mo Salah, wants him to stay, still thinks he's got years to go at Liverpool. When you consider his physique, the way he looks after himself, he could go and almost get another contract at Liverpool. But looking at the situation now, I hope FSG don't fold and say, go on then, we'll take it. I'd rather take 100 million next year than 200 million tonight or until Thursday, because even if they did give us $1 billion today, who are we going to spend it on to replace him?
I've got a question for you, Alex, on that.
Finish the stadium.
What do you think is Mo Salah's...
Good job, to be fair. It needs doing.
I'm just saying, yeah.
Get them seats down.
I'm interested on your opinion on this. Do you think Mo Salah's been unsettled? Do you think he wants to go?
Listen, man.
Because I reckon he wouldn't mind going.
Because in any walk of life, if you get a contract put in front of you on the table, and we can all talk about this, but if it happened to any of us, if it happened to you at home in whatever job you're doing, you're going to have to be forced to seriously consider it. When it's life-changing, generational changing money. Listen, he's on $350 a week at Liverpool now. We had to break our wage structure to get him on a new deal. So if he does take a 1.5 million a week offer, then can any of us around this table say we wouldn't do the same? I don't think so. But at the same time, knowing how hungry he is, knowing how determined he is to beat his own records, go further up the record table for Liverpool in terms of scorers, I know that he'll want to achieve some stuff, but hopefully for him, because it is inevitable, I'm saying it is inevitable now in terms of him leaving at some point, but for him, I just hope this deal is going to be there for him in a year as well.
Ilyas says, Robbie, Mo Salah is not leaving. He's untouchable.
No one's untouchable.
Money.
No one's untouchable, unfortunately. But I'd like to think at this late stage, you know, FSG have kind of read the room and they realised that doing this would be pretty suicidal to our season ambitions.
What about if
so he can't go?
What about if you said to yourself, all right, let's just take the money, like say we get, say, 175, even 200 million.
Let's say 200 at least.
So you take that 200 million and say, right, you know what, we've got enough here, because one thing about Liverpool, in the forward area, they've got some great players, right? We've got enough here to get us till January, and then in January we'll take another look in the market, because we'll have 200 million to spend.
But we could be well off it by January if we don't get a replacement. You haven't got no Champions
League, you've got a fairly easy Europa League draw, right, against teams like Lask, who you'd never heard of until today.
Do they play a low block, Robbie?
I don't know if they play a low block or not, right? But you got a fairly easy draw in that, right? So you could survive, maybe survive till January, and then depends what the ambitions of the club is.
Let's just say hypothetically speaking, he does go and we look at a life without him, you would probably change to a 4-2-3-1 instead of the custom 4-3-3 that we've played, to allow maybe a Szoboszlai on the right, a Diaz on the left and Nunes through the middle, but more inverted, the Diaz and Szoboszlai roles. But it's not really a world I want to thinking, really, to be honest. That's like me admitting defeat, thinking, right, if he does go, I'm not even at that stage yet. I think Liverpool have to stand clear. We've told the Saudis, listen, he's not for sale. I heard Darmesh on Sky earlier saying they respect Liverpool and they understand he's not for sale, but if you respect us,
that's what they put about
go away. Go away.
But the thing is, right,
leave us, man. If you respect us, it's not for sale, my friend.
In relation to the point you made about Salah and the money being it too hard to turn down, surely the same principle applies to FSG. If they get a sum of money that they think...
That's his fear, isn't it? Yeah.
That's my fear.
No, it's not a case of buckling. They might just say, well, you know what... We can't turn this down. It's not really buckling, is it?
Well, no, it's folding. It's admitting defeat. You're giving them what they want. And that's not what everyone else around FSG, including the fans, want. We want him to stay. There's not one person that wants him to go that I've seen so far. So it's imperative that we keep him. Boys, he scores or assists every single game.
Yeah, but
good
talk
game
to
or
the
bad
man
game.
here.
He's so important for us.
They've lost their talisman. They're all right.
Listen, it's a lot easier said than done, I think, sometimes. But it's too much too soon, I think, for Liverpool as well. No, regardless, I think sometimes...
However, if they did this 8 weeks ago...
That's what I think. I think if there was more time, if it was like a month and a half ago, you guys are probably more at the table to say, we could maybe sign 3 or 4 players. We could revolutionise the midfield, maybe get a replacement. At this point, I think, as he said, it's probably worth 100 mil keeping him just for this season alone. Like, I think a lot of Liverpool fans would look at it. And also think of it, though, if they were to, at this late stage, sell him, and now they're not able to get a replacement, what do you think the atmosphere becomes like? Not only in the dressing room, but at Liverpool, at the club.
There's always January. January's just around the corner, you know.
Do you want to wait those 6 months and let that toxicity really build? I don't think any Liverpool fan will look at that and be like, oh, we got 200 million. That they're never going to see. Listen, if there's one thing about FSG is lately you lot have been feeling like they've been tightening the budget a little bit. That kind of money comes in. It's not guaranteed that it's all going to go straight spend on players as well. So
yeah, that's what
it's too little, too late.
Repka says that in a super chat. He says, AGT, you act like FSG care more about the club. These parasites will take the money and sacrifice the season again.
That's my biggest fear.
Yeah.
My biggest fear, because at what point, if the money just keeps going up, what point? There has to be a point, right? There's always a point.
It becomes business.
Right? Deal or no deal. I'm saying no deal every single time, but the decision makers might look at that telephone, number wages that they're offering and say, well, go on, then we'll accept it. But then again, the trickle down effect after, if you accept a deal like that at this stage of the window, it almost is riot ensuing.
I think, it will be FSG basically signing their death note at the club, basically. Liverpool fans will genuinely start calling for their heads and saying, listen, we'll take any ownership. Because if this is what you're doing, essentially we're becoming a selling club. Selling to the new elites. And I don't think it sends a good message as well, in my eyes. So Liverpool have to hold strong, as you said, by any means.
We're going to be here till 11 o'clock tonight at least, right? And if anything does happen on that front with Mo Salah, we will let you know about it first here on DR Sports. Also, don't forget, there's a Premier League game going on right now. It's Luton Town 0, West Ham United 1. We're watching it in the background. Albert Sambi Lokonga at the game from Arsenal. He's joining Luton Town on loan. Let me run you through some of the other transfer dealings of today. Altair Binder, he moved from Fenerbahce. By the way, West Ham have just scored again. It's 2-0 to West Ham now. Emerson. Altair Binder, right, he's moved from Fenerbahce to Manchester United, a deal worth around about £4.3 million. Yep, goalkeeper, backup goalkeeper. Cole Palmer, Manchester City to Chelsea, confirmed this morning for £40 million. Tommy Doyle also moved from Manchester City to Wolves on loan.
By the way, that goal's offside.
Nuno Tavares, another Arsenal player, he's moved from Arsenal to Nottingham Forest on a loan deal. Clement Lenglet, remember him? He was at Tottenham last season. He's moved from Barcelona to Aston Villa on loan. Ansu Fati
to Brighton
was set to go to Tottenham, but he didn't go to Tottenham. He went to Brighton on loan, and Laurie's right, that goal was disallowed in the West Ham game. James McAtee from Manchester City, another Man City player, This time joining Sheffield United on loan, Jacet Tenganga. Sorry.
That killed you there.
Tenganga. Tottenham to Augsburg on
JT.
loan. Sergio Reguilon.
Yes.
I was going to ask you what you think about that one, going from Tottenham to Manchester United on loan. Nicolas Dominguez moved from Bologna to Nottingham Forest for an undisclosed fee. Johnny Evans from Leicester
back home
to Manchester United. Actually, he was unattached, so he didn't even have a club. To Manchester United, that's a bit of a surprise one. And Callum Hudson-Odoi moving from Chelsea to Nottingham Forest. That's some of the deals that have happened today on deadline day. Reguilon going to Manchester United.
Yeah, weird one for me. I think personally I would have kept him as a backup. I think after Destiny we kind of lack quality in that department. I know Perisic slotted in there last year, but I feel like Reguilon, since he signed, to be fair, initially had that kind of 6 months where you thought, okay, maybe we've actually got a decent left back, but after that he got injured, his confidence went, Sessegnon had replaced him in the side and he just never looked the same again. Went out on loan to Atletico Madrid, barely played, didn't really get a sniff. He's come back and he's really kind of out of favour with every manager who's kind of been there now. So I think United, he's looking at maybe a fresh opportunity. United are in desperate need of a left back. The question is I don't see there.
To Luke Shaw.
It's a long-term solution. That's the thing. It's literally a loan with no obligation to buy.
I mean, I think it's a loan even got a cut-off point in January.
In January, yeah.
So they could send it back in January.
I'm expecting him to return at some point in January. For us, this was just a mere kind of get him off the books type of move. But honestly, I think he would have maybe added value to the squad keeping him.
Højbjerg's been an interesting one today because he was set to move to Fulham but didn't move to Fulham.
Yeah.
And it's kind of had a real knock-on effect.
Mate, I call it the Højbjerg domino effect, basically, because with one move from him rejecting Fulham has had such a knock-on effect around the league, because that means Fulham haven't been able to essentially get their Palhinha replacement. So Palhinha now doesn't get his dream move to Bayern. Bayern don't get their defensive midfielder. Fulham don't get a replacement, and we don't get the money that we deserve to get for him as well, or get him off the books at least. All because he wanted to get a move to Atletico Madrid, which they can't afford anyway. So pretty much 4 clubs have been affected by Højbjerg just simply saying no to Fulham. Brother,
chance for West Ham
fix
here.
up. This for me, I feel like Fulham as well could have been a perfect brand new clean slate for him. I feel like at Tottenham now he's out of favour at the moment.
Does he feel that Fulham is too much of a downgrade for him?
I think so. I think he's looking at it as, I've had United inquire about me the last couple of days. I've had Atletico interested in me, big Champions League clubs. That's kind of where he's looking at. I'm honestly looking at it like, mate, for 1 year, go to Fulham, really get your rep up, go and be a leader, because they've just lost 2 of their biggest players. Go and get your rep back. But it seems like he wants to stay at the club, and to be fair, I'm not mad at it, because I think he still is a decent player in my opinion. I think he could be a good squad option, but I think for his benefit and for our benefit, it would have been better for him to just leave at this point, because Bissouma and Bentancur, when he's back fit, and Pape Sarr at the moment, they're going to be the guys that are playing there week in, week out. And
I think it comes down to the style of football that the manager wants to play.
For sure.
Because I think last season it's fair to say that Højbjerg is one of your senior players, wasn't he?
The past 3 years, since he's signed, he's been a key player for us. I'll be honest with you. The first 2 years, I thought he was one of the best defensive midfielders in the league. I thought he was really standout. And then last year, I just feel like you started to see kind of gaps in his game where if we want to dominate position, if we want to be on the ball, he is just almost too safe with the ball a lot of times. He doesn't play a lot of those forward
He's not
passes.
expansive.
Yeah, and people will say, oh, but at Denmark he plays in the 8, he plays in a different role. I think the team and the system is very different, and at Denmark he kind of has a bit more license. At Spurs he's never been able to get that license, but he's never shown the earn of it, if that makes sense. He's never the manager's trust, if you like, to be able to do that, because every time he's been on the ball he's looked a bit static, stiff. So
plus you would have thought that, I don't want to belabor the point, but you're staying at Fulham, you're staying in London, so
literally, for me,
nicer part of London as well.
It didn't make sense. Nicer part as well, you could say, compared to Tottenham, but I'm sure he's not living in Tottenham. Broadwell Farm.
Massive blow for Paulinho himself, because he wanted to make that move to Bayern Munich. He flew over to Bayern Munich,
did the shirts,
did the medical, did the shirts, everything, and now is having to return back to Fulham. I mean, psychologically, what is that going to do?
Wingy vibes.
What is that going to do to the player? I mean, that's really, really bad.
Breaking news, Robbie, coming into us now. Barcelona have completed the deal for Atletico's João Felix, and he will cost 80 million for the remainder of the season. That's now signed.
£8 million loan deal.
Correct, yeah.
Yeah, and I was chatting to my brother earlier and saying how ridiculous the Chelsea look now that they paid a £19 million loan fee last season.
That's nothing
for João Felix for 6 months.
That's nothing.
Chelsea
well, you say it's nothing, but these things will catch up on Chelsea eventually.
I'm praying.
You know, chance for Luton, chance for Luton, which they hashed. Sofian Amrabat on Manchester United. He's on the verge of signing for Man United. That's a good sign, isn't it? He looked brilliant in. No, you're saying that Liverpool were linked to him.
I didn't say anything.
Oh, I thought you sort of made your face as if to say, I don't know.
I just went like that. I've got a chewing gum in.
But
I think all of us in there were surprised that it's taken him this long to get a move. He's been linked with so many clubs.
Have you seen the terms they've been offering?
That there might be something there that's stopping these clubs from properly going in for him.
Well, he's been linked
talk of a
£10 million so many people.
£10 million loan fee, which is a lot of money for a loan fee, isn't it? But
well, they tried to offer £2 million initially, was it, as a loan fee, and they said hell no. But I think personally, it's a very good signing. I think you bring in cover for Casemiro, I think, who in these early couple of games has maybe shown, you know what, I might expire very soon. But if they can protect him, I think you can extend that a little bit. And bringing in someone like Amrabat just brings in extra bit of depth to that midfield area.
He'll basically do the running that Casemiro won't.
Yeah, but the problem is, I think United need more of a Gravenberch. I think Gravenberch and Amrabat should have actually gone the other way. I think you should have got Amrabat at Liverpool, and they should have got Gravenberch.
On that, Ryan Gravenberch on the verge of signing for Liverpool to become a new Liverpool player. Why? By the way, I've always had this theory, and I talk about it every year, and I bring it up again today. Right? It's 9/17. Amrabat hasn't been announced yet. Gravenberch hasn't been announced yet. Many of these signings that we all know are going to happen haven't been announced yet, and I think a lot of it is done for the TV, so that they can say,
last minute.
Yeah, I mean, you think of Sky's coverage, for instance, right? If all these things got announced now at 9, they'd have nothing to talk about for the next 2 hours.
Are you saying they stagger it out?
They stagger it out, man. I'm convinced of it. I am convinced of it.
Most of just chilling at home and just laughing at it.
I'll tell you a United signing that is quite shocking to me, that's kind of gone under the radar, is the Johnny Evans one you spoke about.
Yep, Johnny Evans.
So does that mean that Maguire's been pushed even further down the pecking?
Probably.
Maybe.
I mean,
maybe.
Somebody make that make sense. Johnny Evans.
Just about the Gravenberch one though, because that was a signing that Liverpool were after him earlier on in the transfer window.
I think
looked like it weren't going to happen, and now it's happened on deadline day. Why have they waited so long to get this deal done?
In 2021, Jurgen Klopp compiled a short list of 3 midfielders that he could see working with in the future, according to all reports that I've read. And the names were Tchouaméni, Bellingham, and Gravenberch. And I feel like he ticks a few boxes for us in terms of being a ball carrier, being a good striker of the ball, can play in a variety of positions. The thing that I think most people would maybe question, I know you spoke about this yesterday, is he an out-and-out 6? No. Is Klopp going to make him become an out-and-out 6? Maybe. It depends who he's got next to him, if there's a double pivot or we change formation. But this is a midfielder that Liverpool have been looking at for ages now. So to finally see it go over the line is good, man. I'm looking forward to him. I'm going to get behind him as a red. You know, he's got his Dutch compadres there with Virgil and Cody. Hakpo. I'm looking forward to
That's a good fullback. That's a good fullback. Well done.
No, I'm really, really excited to see him.
What about this one, right? Chelsea. Tottenham interested in signing Trevor Chalobah of Chelsea. This would be a really strange one if it happened. Of course, Chalobah was hoping to get a move to Bayern Munich. That's not happened. Nottingham Forest are trying to sign him as well. Do you think
not the worst
Chelsea
option
would sell him to Tottenham?
I think that's where the difficulty is. But in terms of like options that we've been linked with, honestly, I don't think it's the worst one. I think Chalobah's actually quite decent. I just don't think he's actually been given the opportunity properly at Chelsea. But I think whenever he's had the chances, he's always looked comfortable. Some people will say maybe can he adapt to a back 2 instead of a back 3 that he's been playing in. He's athletic and intelligent.
I've seen him play a few. I've never been that impressed, to be honest.
Listen, for me, he's an upgrade on Eric Dyer and Davinson Sanchez, and all I'm looking for in that position is cover. When Van der Ven or Romero need a rest or get a suspension, which will be inevitable, can you come in and slot in for 2 or 3 games and not look out of place? I'm not looking for you to be one of the Premier League's best centre-backs. Just come and be some cover. My ideal signing would have been Bella Kotchap. I think I'm baffled that it's been
cheap right now.
Now he's on his way to PSV now, apparently.
Yeah, PSV.
The Dortmund and Bayern Munich deals fell through, so he's on his way to PSV.
For a little 3 million
left-footed, strong, quick, aggressive defender.
A left-footed centre-back.
For me, it's there waiting for you. And the worst thing is the fact that PSV are getting him on a loan. I'm like, we could have got him on a loan and sat him on the bench, but hey, we'll see.
Let me go through some super chats here. Lee Southby says, Paulo Dybala to Arsenal, £57 million. Deal done. Here we go. I don't think so. Rapika says, I think I did that one before. Christian Lopez says, Feyenoord striker for Spurs. Which Feyenoord striker are you on about?
No
Chance
clue.
for West Ham.
Lee Southby again says Pogba to Arsenal for £18.50. Personal terms not yet agreed, but Edu to get the deal over the line. Pogba wants guaranteed parking space at London Coney. Shellhard says, question for you all: do you think the FA put something in place to reduce the Saudi spending? How could they do that?
What
They
could they
couldn't do that.
Stay humble, hustle hard 29 says Dortmund game live now. Ref gave a pen, VAR said offside, game carries on, then VAR says penalty. What would happen if that happened in the EPL? And Lee Southby again says fresh from the Fabi shock move, agreed for Tony Yeboah to come out of retirement. Al Etihad favourites to sign in free transfer, £500 a week.
Him instead of
the
Salah.
thing is, right, these jokes about the Saudi, they have really shaken up this transfer window.
Say that again.
They've taken a lot of players like Jordan Henderson. They've signed, big signings like Neymar. I mean, even they've made some signings of players that are not old timers.
Yeah, I was going to say
like Milinkovic-Savic, for instance, who could have played for any team in the Premier League, has gone to Saudi Arabia. I mean, they're not missing about. Now they're after Salah. I mean, they are not missing about, the Saudis, are they?
No, and
Their
they should.
business model is changing. They're not just going for that typical old guy that's got a name. They're now looking at younger
Premier
players
talent
that are either in their prime
Is
or...
it Gabby Vega from Celta Vigo as well?
I mean, that's a Gabby Vega.
Is that? Do they exist? The scouting jobs exist there?
I mean, the thing is, it's still a fresh league, if you like, in terms of getting that money just now.
Can you imagine the scout report? There's this guy. He's called Benzema. He's like 38.
Yeah.
Yeah. Why
No,
not?
I think you're doing them a disservice.
You
by
say
saying
that as a joke, but
You're saying
like what Fuad has just said. Gabby Vega, one of the hottest young players in Spain, only 19?
21 he was.
Right? Signed for a Saudi Arabian team.
He was linked to Napoli.
Linked to loads of teams across Europe.
Yeah.
Right? And he goes to Saudi Arabia.
I'm also aware of there's been quite a few players that thought they could get the move to Saudi and they've not been looked at.
Yep.
Have you
Hudson
heard
Odoi,
Coutinho
Lingard.
is now looking at a Qatar club after getting rejected by the...
Qatar's like the Saudi second division now, isn't it? If you're ending up there, it means you didn't quite make the Saudi league.
But that was the point I'm making. If you look at the business model, is changing. I mean, when Ronaldo went there, everyone said,
No. I think
that was the catalyst for,
But yeah, I think the guys like Ronaldo and the Kantes and the Benzema, they're like almost like the proven goats.
Yeah.
They're like, they're big names. They're market
That was to open
pullers.
up the door.
But then you've got to get the talents. The Firminos, the Mahrezes, the guys, the
Sadio
ASMs as well is a good signing as well. Mitrovic.
Mane.
Huh?
Mane.
Mane's another one as well, yeah. Good signing. But I think, listen, it's going to be great. I think there's a game on at the moment. Mitrovic has got a hat-trick out for Al Hilal today, if I'm not mistaken. So, listen.
And that, Fulham's top goal scorer last season, one of the best strikers in the Premier League, Saudi Arabia.
And I think, to be fair to the Saudis as well, it's not just the money. I think players are looking at it like it's a burgeoning league. So the excitement
a lot of it is the
there.
money.
Yeah, of course. But we shouldn't underestimate...
Percent-wise, what do you think it is?
No, but what I'm saying is we shouldn't underestimate the cultural aspect of this. So for some people... So, say, for example, they really want Mo Salah, and I reckon there's more reasons attached to that than just football. He's a cultural icon in the Muslim world
because he's from the Arab.
World. Exactly. That's the point I'm trying to make. It's not just the football.
Sure, but Henderson, do you think he really gave a?
No, but I didn't say Henderson with respect.
No, but because the narrative changes every player that you bring into the equation. With Salah, it's it's going with your argument because he's a
cultural icon in that part of the world.
But someone like Henderson, you can't tell me he was wanting to go out there for culture.
Maybe not Henderson, but what I'm saying is, for a lot of players, they will look at that area of the world as a burgeoning market, as an area where...
Depends which player you are and what age you are, I'd say.
I think you're underestimating the powers of attraction.
It depends per case, doesn't it?
What I'd really like to find out is, and listen, there's still deals to come in on transfer deadline day, but I'd really want to run through some of the teams and find out who you think has had the best transfer window. So we'll go through a few of the teams, but in the end I'm going to ask that question. I'm going to ask the question to you guys out there: who do you think's had the best transfer window? So let me run through some of the clubs so far and their transfer windows ins and outs. Arsenal we'll start off with. Players that have come in. Declan Rice, of course. Massive fee, £105 million. Jurriën Timber, 38 million. He's unfortunately injured now, but 38 million. Kai Havertz for 65 million, and David Raya on a season-long loan. Those have been their incomings. Aston Villa, Pau Torres from Villarreal for £33 million. Moussa Diaby from Bayer Leverkusen. They've got Yuri Tielemans, Nicolo Zaniolo, Lenglet's come in for them. So that's just some of the players that have come in for them. Bournemouth, Alex Scott, the young up-and-coming player from Bristol City, had a great season last season. Max Aarons from Norwich as well went there. Justin Kluivert from Roma for 9.5 million. Hamad Traore, Tyler Adams, of course, from Leeds for 24 million. That's some of they spent a lot of money, Bournemouth, by the way. Brentford, Nathan Collins from Wolves. Romeo Beckham, who came from Inter Miami, probably into their B team though, but not many big signings. Mark Flecken from Freiburg. Brighton, Carlos Baleba from Lille. They spent a lot of money on him, £23.2 million. Bart Zabruggen, Mohamed Dahoud, James Milner, of course, ex-Liverpool player, Man City, ex-Liverpool player. That was way back in the day. And of course, Ansu Fati, as well as players like João Pedro, they bought in early in the transfer window. Burnley, some of the James Trafford is one of the standout players they bought in from Man City for £19 million. Nathan Redmond, lots of free transfers in for them. Chelsea, Axel Disasi from Monaco, 38.85 million. Nicholas Jackson came from Villarreal. Christopher Nkunku, again, another very unfortunate player. Excited to see what he do this season, but he's injured.
Yeah.
Robert Sanchez, and of course Moises Caicedo, £115 million. Lavia.
Chance.
I mean, they bought in a whole host of players this season. David Washington from Santos for 17.1 million. Cole Palmer, of course, from Manchester City, £42 million. And a whole host of players that have gone out from that club. Crystal Palace, their standout signings, just for Lerma from Bournemouth.
This is going to take you ages.
Dean Henderson. I'm going to do some of this. I'm going to do some of this. Stop. I'm going to do some of this. Stop. And of course, they lost Wilfried Zaha. Everton ins Ashley Young, Arnott Danjuma from Villarreal, who's of course at Tottenham last season. Jack Harrison on a season-long loan. Beto from Udinese for £25.8 million. And let's just say, we'll stop here now. Fulham, Raul Jimenez, Calvin Bassey, Adama Traore, and Timothy Castagna from Leicester.
Tell you what, Leicester have earned a few quid this window.
I like their window though. Lerma, Mateus Franca, big talent from Brazil, and then Dean Henderson, solid pair of hands. I think they wanted to replace Guaita, was it? I think Bournemouth's one I really like as well. Bournemouth, Chelsea, I think is it's pretty much spoil of riches in it. So it's almost impossible to not like some of the players that they've signed. But I think Bournemouth's one is really the one for me that I think is a little bit almost under the radar. I think they've signed a lot of kind of gems. They confirmed somebody today as well. Let me just see if I can find.
All right, whilst you're doing that, let me keep going on. Liverpool, a couple of their signings: Alex McAllister, Dominic Szoboszlai, Wataru Endo, and of course Gravenbach is coming in today. So some of the signings that they've made. Luton Town, Ross Barkley, who's playing tonight. Tafit Chong, of course, who's also playing tonight. And of course, they've taken Sambi Lokonga in on loan as well. Man City, Jeremy Doku from Rennes for £55.5 million. Josko Gvardiol for £77.6 million. Mateo Kovacic for £30 million. That's and of course today Matthias Nunes for £53 million.
Someone called Spike Brits from Wimbledon.
Man United, Mason Mount, 60 million. Andre Onana, 47.2 million. Johnny Evans, as he said, a free. Rasmus Højlund for 72 million pounds. He's been injured. And of course, they're about to sign Amrabat, and they bought in Reguilon today as well. So they've been busy. Newcastle, Harvey Barnes from Leicester for 39 million. Sandro Tonali, 55 million from AC Milan. Livramento from Southampton, 32 million. And Lewis Hall from Chelsea on loan. But they did lose players like Alan St. Maximin, who has gone to where? Saudi. Al-Ali, yeah. Nottingham Forest, they brought in Alanga, they brought in Chris Wood from Newcastle, Matt Turner from Arsenal in goal, Nuno Tavares from Arsenal, and of course we was hearing earlier Callum Hudson-Odoi has also joined them as well. Sheffield United have brought in Cameron Archer from Aston Villa, Austin Trusty from Arsenal. Luke Thomas has joined on loan from Leicester, and of course they brought in James McAtee from Manchester City, very good young prospect. Tottenham, you brought in Kulusevski. Of course, he was always on loan. You brought him in on a permanent. James Maddison for 40 million, good signing. Vicario, the goalkeeper, 17.2 million. Manus Solomon from Shakhtar Donetsk. Pedro Porro, who you made permanent as well, and Nicky van der Ven, 43. Is that how much he costs? Quite expensive, really. Of course, you lost Harry Kane. West Ham lost, of course, Declan Rice, but they did bring in Mohamed Kudus. Edson Alvarez from Ajax, 2 Ajax players there. They brought in James Ward-Prowse as well, and Konstantinos Mavropanos, formerly of Arsenal, and Stuttgart, of course. Just
hearing as well, Robbie, some breaking news coming in. We heard earlier that Kasper Schmeichel has had his contract terminated with Nice. Now Nice have offered a contract to Hugo Lloris, but they're not certain whether he'll go there yet. He was also attracting attention from Newcastle about half an hour ago.
So that termination of contract for...
Let me get back to that. Hold on, right? Just going to Wolves now. Boubakary Traore from Metz. They bought in Matt Doherty from Atletico Madrid, ex-Tottenham player, of course. And Wolves. Tommy Doyle on loan, and Santiago Bueno from Girona.
Did you do West Ham?
Girona.
We did West Ham as well. Yeah. So.
Well done, Robbie. That was
a bit of a stick. And there's many other players that have left. I've just picked out some of the main players. But who has had, in your guys' opinion, and I want to hear from you guys in the chat as well, who has had the best transfer window?
2 standouts for me. Arsenal and City. Or City and Arsenal.
I think if you're talking about strengthening in key areas, I could probably agree with that. I think City, when you look at Josko Gvardiol, is just adding quality to that backline that they already had. Laporte's gone out, and you almost feel like he's a step up. Matheus Nunes and Kovacic coming in for a combined 70 million, if you like, but to replace Gundogan, I think that's perfect.
Yeah, I think all things being considered, City, you've said they've replaced in the right areas. They've got the men they wanted. Even the
Mahrez went out, and then they got Doku in, who is like lightning.
And I remember watching Doku in the was it a World Cup or
Euros?
Euros, and he looked good.
Even at the World Cup,
for a while as well.
Arsenal have had a very good window, but there are a couple of areas where we could.
Arsenal have had a good window, but I think that injury to Urian Timber.
Yeah.
I think if he hadn't got injured, right, and it was just that, I'd say good window. They brought in a lot of quality. Still not convinced with Kai Havertz, but I would have looked on it and said they brought in a lot of quality. But with that injury to Urian Timber, I felt today that Arsenal should have brought in some cover for that. You know what I mean? It just seems just somebody on loan, not
many names.
There's not many names. There was somebody like maybe a Walker Peters you could have got who could cover right back and left back. You
want a Tottenham man at your club now, yeah? Is that what you're saying, Robbie, yeah?
Not really.
That's what you want, yeah?
Maybe that's why they didn't go for him, you know what I mean?
And the other point,
he plays for Southampton.
Yeah. The other point I was going to make on Arsenal signing is that we shouldn't forget that I think it's fair to say that the marquee signing for the Premier League would have been Declan Rice, and we got him. We beat City.
What?
To him, so, yeah.
I think how did you come to that conclusion? Sorry. How did you come to the conclusion that Declan Rice was the marquee Premier League signing?
I'd say
you saw the headlines.
I'd say at the.
Did Caicedo not have headlines?
I'd say him and Caicedo
were
the two.
Yeah, he's trying to turn it into that, and I'm on him. I'm on him.
I'd say Declan Rice and Caicedo were probably the two most sought-after players in this transfer window. Would you say that?
Yeah.
To me, Declan Rice pips it.
I don't know. Just because you had a longer ordeal dealing with West Ham doesn't make it more. I, in fact, like the Caicedo drama of Liverpool coming in, and then Chelsea said, "Now we've already agreed personal terms." Then the Lavia thing gets involved. That was way more entertaining to me than
the furore. Look
Rice.
at the publicity. Look at the hype around the Declan Rice signing. I think it's fair to say that he was the marquee signing of this summer in the Premier League.
Probably was because he's English.
Name me a bigger one.
So probably was.
Caicedo.
Who?
Caicedo. I think it's just as equal, in my opinion.
Caicedo was also big,
No, it's big, but
I think.
Alex, what are you saying, man? Be honest now.
I think those two. This summer's been all about central midfielders, hasn't it? Really.
Yeah.
And I'd say those two are the most high-profile ones. Yeah.
Because you had with Declan Rice, you had Arsenal and Man City going after him, and then with Caicedo, you had
City
Liverpool. They put a bid in for him, didn't they? So and then with the Liverpool one, with the Caicedo one, you had Liverpool and Chelsea going at him. And
let's not forget, Arsenal wanted him in January, and there was a talks of maybe if the Declan Rice falls through. Let's not forget Ricedo at one point as well. You lot were trying to run that at the start of the window. Did we forget? But now all of a sudden it's because he's gone Chelsea. It's
Caicedo is a very, very talented player. I'm not talking about the talent levels. I'm talking about the hype around it, the furore.
And that's literally what I'm talking about.
So would you say that was like the biggest deal of the
I'd say
window, the Rice one?
So.
Yeah. Even though it was a little bit less than Caicedo, I'd probably agree with that.
By the way,
he's just
I'll give it to you lot. Take it. Take it. Is that what you want?
They had to squeeze it out of us, but they get there in the end.
All right, well, Alex has got some news for us.
Coming from Munich fan page, they are a Bayern fan page on Twitter, and it seems like our Ty has taken over their Twitter account. Let me read you this tweet coming in just a couple of hours ago. Fulham are a pathetic club. You let your player fly all the way to Munich and let him complete his medical only to refuse to sign a replacement. Hopefully you get relegated. I'll be checking every game now and celebrating every goal and loss against you. Yo,
I like that.
Ty, what have they done to Ty? That is Ty. You're a disgrace, pathetic. Hope you get relegated.
I like this one here from CFC TBO. Says, favourite recent Chelsea signing? Well, you've got about 1 million to choose from.
Too many to choose
We'll get to Chelsea, actually. Lee Southby says, on a serious note, Arsenal have done very well to fend off the Saudis for Partey and Gabby. Credit due, most players would run for the money. Gabriel Magalhaes, of course.
I actually agree with that. I think losing them two would have been massive losses.
And I also think fending off Smith Rowe as well was good. Perth Luxury says teams versus Arsenal, Howard Webb, Mike Riley, Mike Dean, Mark Halsey, Graham Poll, Steve Lodge, Martin Atkinson, Lee Mason, Anthony Taylor, David Coote and Stuart Atwood, basically every referee. Someone is now selling Harry Maguire pinatas, he says.
Piñatas.
Real Madrid here says, is Luton the Detroit of England? Oh, no, I've never been to Detroit.
Pretty rough, I think.
It is pretty rough. Hey, listen, man, I went to school in Luton, man. He's off with that. Diogo says, yo, AGT. I mean, like, some rough broke down.
That's what you man say about Liverpool,
it was actually, Luton was voted the worst
city to live in.
Worst town.
Peterborough's up there.
Worst town to live in. No, Luton is number one.
Oh, really?
Worst town to live in the country. Well, we're from the mean streets, man. But I think
you know where I'm from, dog. If you've travelled around the country like we all have, you will know that there's much worse places to live in.
Do you know where I believe is the worst that I've been to? Middlesbrough.
Nice.
I could name a few.
You're going to get all the Middlesbrough man on you now.
Come, man.
I could name a few, but I won't.
All right, listen, before we get ourselves in trouble, right? Yo, AGT, did you hear that Newcastle United just signed Santiago Muniz on a free transfer from LAFC?
Goal.
Says Diogo.
Santiago Muniz. That's the guy from the film,
That's Mickey Almer.
Okay. And Jerome says Aston Villa and Manchester City don't dare say Arsenal. Luton just missed another easy chance.
Asking for a penalty.
But they're asking for a handball, I think, or was it a corner? Aston Villa and Man City says, don't dare say Arsenal, you signed Havertz. Aston Villa did have a good transfer window. Moussa Diaby?
No, he's definitely the elephant in the room for Arsenal, though.
Yeah, Havertz. But I'm just saying, Aston Villa's transfer window, Pau Torres.
It's been good, man. It's been really
Moussa
good.
Diaby. Yuri Tielemans on a free.
That's a good one.
Rico Richards from West Brom. Nicolo Zaniolo from Galatasaray on loan, good player. And your mate Clement Longley on loan. Not bad.
It's not bad. That's the thing. I think maybe a week or two ago, people were going on like Aston Villa had the best window ever and they were going to challenge for Champions League. Who was it that actually said they were? I think it was Nick.
No, it was BH Stricto.
Yeah, Stricto was like, they're going to challenge for Champions League top 4. And I said, what players in there are giving you Champions League vibes? I think it's a solid window. I think it's given them definitely depth in numbers for sure. Now when you've got Buendia out for a long time, you've got...
I think when people were saying that, I think it was... because if you look at the trajectory of the club since the manager's taken over Emery, it's on the up and up.
Yeah.
And the fact that they've got such a good experienced manager there, people said that don't be surprised if they do really well and challenge for the Champions League. So, just to put it in context.
Yeah, I agree. But
good ball.
I think when you look at
goal, Kurt Zuma,
2-0.
Another assist for James Ward-Prowse for
James Ward-Prowse with another brilliant. Let's go talk about him. James Ward-Prowse, another assist for him. 30 million, right? And he's providing loads of assists. He's deadly from corners.
What a corner.
Deadly from set pieces.
That's what he's there for.
James Ward-Prowse possibly one of the signings of the summer?
Yes, 100%.
Great delivery that was.
Look at what he's done in 4 games. I think it's 1 goal and 4 assists. Great.
He's definitely enhanced.
He has a lot to do there, Robbie. He had to get it down.
He's always going to be a threat.
The way he strikes the ball and whips it in is unbelievable. By the way, we have now official confirmation from Liverpool that Ryan Gravenberch is a red. The picture there is a recreation of him taking a selfie during lockdown when he was wearing a Liverpool shirt. There is number 38, our new midfielder at Liverpool.
So it was
Welcome in Liverpool.
So what does that do for your window now? I mean, your window, Alex McAllister, Alexis McAllister, sorry. Wacharo Endo.
Yeah, I mean, 4 in. 1, 2,
Salah
3,
out,
4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 out. Well, I didn't know you. Oh my God, how many is there? We've released about 50.
They go with all the youth players on that as well.
On paper, at the start of the window, if someone said we're giving you 4 midfielders, would you take that? I actually thought the club would only go to 2 or 3. So to get 4, it's penalty to Luton.
That looked a bit harsh.
Penalty to Luton. It looked very... Oh, it's a goal kick. Sorry, it's a goal kick. That's not a pen. It would have been very harsh. But yeah, I would have taken that at the start of the window. Obviously, as we were talking about before stream, we didn't realise, or it wasn't planned for Fabinho and Henderson to leave, so that kind of threw us into the checkbook again. But as long as it stays that number of players leaving and Mo Salah doesn't leave, then I would have to give this window what I actually would have liked. I can't give it a 10. I wanted 4 midfielders, I got them, yes, but I can't give it a 10 because I don't think we've addressed the centre-back issue. And really, to see Bella Kotchap go, I think it's 3.5 mil to PSV. It was a 25 mil guaranteed buy if you took him.
No buy option, but loan.
But I would have done that. That's
good signings.
Deal,
which of those signings are you most excited by?
It's a great question, but I guess it's quite a healthy headache to have when you actually can't pick. I mean, naturally, Szoboszlai at the start it was McAllister. Now I think it might be Szoboszlai, but I think maybe with Gravenberch as well, whatever wasn't coming out of him at Bayern, I think Klopp's the guy to get that out of him that we saw at Ajax. So it could end up being him. By the way, also breaking news: former Fulham owner Mohamed Al Fayed dies at 94.
Oh, did he die? Oh dear.
So rest in peace to him.
Rest in peace, man. What about Tottenham? I mean, happy with the window that Tottenham have had? I mean, a lot of people saying that you've made the signing of the summer in James Maddison.
I would say definitely a contender. For me, he's the one I would look at as the real needle mover that we've made. Vicario,
40 million.
Yeah. Pound for pound, when you look at it, you talk about Ward-Prowse, what he brings. He brings pretty much the same, except I would say a little bit more to his game as well. Like, in fact, a lot more, I would say. But yeah, I think he's going to be a special player for us, and you can already see kind of the impact of what he's brought in the first kind of couple of games. I think Vicario and Van der Ven, they've started promisingly. I can only hope that kind of consistency leads on. But then outside of that, you're looking at Solomon, free agent. He's going to come in as a squad option. Brennan Johnson, 45 million is a lot of money, in my opinion.
You happy with that signing?
Personally, I think we could have gone better. I would have looked at players like Amin Guiri, maybe a Pedro Goncalves. You can look at Europe and kind of see maybe players who are a bit more proven. But I think some people are looking at Premier League proven. There's always that tag. And I feel like it's giving me...
not Premier League proven?
And that's the thing, it's one season in the Premier League where he's shown...
You're buying potential.
And he's shown flashes and glimpses. And speaking to one or two Forest fans, they're like, we've absolutely ripped you off here, mate. Like, he's not worth 45 million.
No, but you have to factor in the UK tax.
I fully agree. But I think for me, I look at him and I'm like, last season I thought for Nottingham Forest, you were good. But we're almost like a step up from that. Now the expectations are going to increase. And it reminds me of the Richarlison situation last year, where you're at Everton, getting 10, 12 goals a season in 30 games is brilliant over there. But over here now, things are going to go up.
You'll be hoping it doesn't end up like the Jed Spence signing.
No, in that type of scenario where you struggle to adapt at that next level. And we've seen Richarlison struggle for a whole year, cost around the same amount of money. And the differences, you could say, is maybe... Johnson's got a bit more pace about him. But I look at it, he doesn't have a standout position in my opinion. Is he a great finisher? No. Is his final end product passing-wise incredible?
He's lightning quick.
He's lightning quick, as I said. That's probably the difference thing that he's got. But outside of that, I'm looking at him and Richarlison, and I'm like, it's almost like a mirror situation.
I firmly believe that you're buying potential.
Yeah.
And then I said, you factor into...
I look at the window that overall, I'll give it a C, if you like. I don't think it's been a window of... really pushing things
forward.
You
give it a 5 out of 10?
6.57 out of 10, I would say.
That's not a C, is it?
That's not a C. C would be like a 5.
C is 60%
C is like a 5/10.
Maybe when you lot was doing O-levels and that, yeah?
Give it out of 10, man, about a C.
Out of
10, will you give it?
6.5.
That's like a B.
That's a B minus. B?
Yeah, B minus.
I don't know.
What's a B minus? C is a 5, trust me.
C is a 5.
In old money. In old money, C is a 5.
Money. Listen, this ain't the 1930s, man.
All right.
B minus is 6.5.
I
agree. I've got to say, for once, I agree with Laurie.
Listen, I'll give my score on both sides.
Salah should stay this season, win the Premier League, Europa League and FA Cup trophy, the treble, and leave next year for 250 to 300 million over to Saudi. I really want to know from you guys out there, who's had the best transfer window? Who so far has had the best transfer window? Who do you think's had the best one?
I've given you my top 2. If I had to choose one, I would, especially in the light of what's happened with Timber and etc., I'll go for City. I think they've all their bases covered.
And who's been the best signing? We're just seeing a signing come on there for West Ham. Mohamed Kudus has just come on for West Ham in this game. Another good signing with them. They've utilised the Declan Rice money well. Who do you think's been the best signing of the transfer window?
So far, it's a bit premature.
The best signing. I'll give you a lot of chance to think about it whilst I go through what some of the people are saying. So Mungezi says Man City has had the best window. Divas says City. Jonas said
goal for Luton.
Oh, Luton scored a goal.
Their first ever Premier League goal.
Ned Post says Chelsea has had the best window. Marlene says Spurs. Forest or West Ham, says Jimmy Misford. Josh says West Ham. Brighton, says Tevin. And they've had a good window. Yeah. Brighton, very good window.
I'd go...
But for you now, best signing.
Best signing?
Best signing of the transfer window.
James Maddison.
JWP for me. He just gives you guaranteed instant success, yeah. And that's what he's done already.
It's only 3 games, but what I would say is that over the length of the season, I'm going to go for our boy, Declan Rice.
You reckon?
Yeah.
I think the pressure of the 100 mil, potentially people are going to say, has he been a 100 mil midfielder?
I would stress as well that it's difficult to gauge in it because
that's what I'm saying.
You can obviously judge strikers by their goals and assists. It's similar for midfielders, but defenders and defensive midfielders not so much. But
what about when Kante though? The impact he had at Leicester, the next season went to Chelsea, wins the title. So you could see the impact he had. Is that the type of impact you expect Declan to have this year?
I'm expecting it to be a long-term thing. Where it's not just his ability on the ball, it's the way he galvanises a team, it's the leadership qualities, it's everything, all inclusive. So.
Okay, Nigel Gates says, Nigel Gates. Getting all these, he's sitting next to Alex with all these little Spanish stuff here.
Nigel Gates.
Yeah, you see, that's a more fancy way of saying it. Miguel.
According to Luton.
Miguel Gates. Right? Spurs, he says...
the most English name sounds...
He said 5 out of 10. He says Spurs have still got too much dead wood.
Yes, that's
I think that's
because that's the thing. It's also your transfer window's about getting rid of players as well, isn't it?
Facts.
That is a big part.
Robbie, and I think if you look at what Chelsea have done, even City, even Liverpool, in terms of players that they've managed to get off the books, that has to count towards maybe
Arsenal
a 2 or 3 out of
players
10
off as well.
in terms of players getting
Arsenal got
gone.
a load of players off. Amri Nail says Spurs won the transfer window last season and look where it ended up.
No, they
I
didn't
wouldn't pay
win
much attention to it, he says.
No, they didn't win it. If you go and watch the deadline show last year, I was telling you then.
Yeah, but you were the only one.
Yeah,
everybody else was gassed. Fuego says got to go with Chelsea just for getting rid of the deadwood that was needed to, and Rashan says Bellingham best signing.
In Europe for sure. It's Bellingham,
great signing that was, and only under £100 million.
80, 80,
so really.
West Ham holding on here.
Really interesting. By the way, please don't forget to like the video. Over 5,000 of you watching live at the moment. Really appreciate it. Remember, the transfer window closes. Oh, that's a handball there in by Ward-Prowse. Surely.
Was his arm out?
VAR not getting involved in that. That looks like a handball there.
Come on.
That's handball, isn't it?
That is nasty work.
A VAR looking at that? That's handball, isn't it?
Dude, clearly his hand was in an unnatural position.
That's pretty harsh on Luton. That's a harsh one, man. And surely that's
Robbie.
But anyway, going back to it, thank you very much to everybody who's watching live at the moment.
How many have we got, Rob?
We've got over 5,000.
Wow, what's that? 2,000 likes at the very minimum then?
Let's get that.
Come on.
We've got just over an hour to go of the transfer window, and then it will slam short.
I've just got a message from Nico, the Barcelona fan. He says,
Miguel.
No, not Miguel. This is Nico. Go on. He says, let me know when you talk about the best window from us. No money, bringing stars and putting good players on loan. They've just confirmed as well, João Cancelo now is formally a Barcelona player on loan, no obligation to buy. But Barca as well, we've got to put their hand to the ring.
Spent $3 million, I think, on Oriol Romeu. Gundogan on a free, Cancelo on loan, João Felix potentially coming on loan as well. Yeah, it's looking like it, but after the way they spent last year or last summer, you'd expect this summer to kind of be a quiet one.
I don't think anybody from Barcelona can talk about good windows.
Yeah. Nico, you hear that?
No, seriously, with all these little... What they call it? These levers they always activate and stuff like that, right? I'm sorry, you know what I mean? They would probably normally have gone bigger, but to be fair to them, they have made some good moves when you think that they've got all these free transfers
restrictions
and all the restrictions they're under, and obviously it's the pulling power of Barcelona, isn't it? It's the fact that somebody like João Felix, he said, I only want Barcelona. Same with Cancelo, I only want Barcelona. So
name holds weight.
That does give them a lot of pulling power. Forest have just signed Sangara, I'm seeing here.
Ibrahima Sangara
we
from
were
PSV.
linked with him not long ago, a couple of weeks ago. They look.
He would have been good for you.
Looks to be a decent price as well, that one.
And I'm hearing that the Amrabat Finn, David Ornstein saying Amrabat has signed for Manchester United. Announcement to follow. Season-long loan for 10 million euros with an option to buy for 20 million plus 5 million in add-ons.
Cheap as well, isn't it? 20 mil.
I think that's a very good signing, by the way.
Yeah.
It's 30 million total, basically.
They do need him.
I think so, for sure. Gives them extra pair of legs in that midfield, but
do you think
also now you've got options. You've got Mount,
not only that, if you look at
Bruno,
Amrabat's attributes, the running, the tackling, the physicality, he's very
We all
Premier League
remember that
ready.
Do you not have that with Casemiro already, though?
Yeah, but he's got the extra legs, and
that's
you
what
know what I mean.
Where is he gonna? What are they gonna do then? Will it be Casemiro and him in midfield with?
I think certain defensive games it'll be those two as a double pivot, almost like a wall to protect that defense. And then in kind of more attacking games, you'd either see Bruno in a deeper role or Mount, I'd imagine.
Do you know what? I was just thinking.
I think people are writing off Mount
where
too
does
quickly.
he end up in this kind of midfield selection headache that they've got now? Because if you go with a double pivot, you're not going to drop Bruno as the captain. So where does Mount now play?
I think Bruno potentially drops to the deeper role. Do you remember last year he was playing a much deeper role and was doing it very well? Like people were saying it was the least wasteful he'd been. But no, you play Bruno next to Casemiro and then you play Mount a little bit further forward.
So Amrabat's bench man.
Why not? You're here on loan. Earn your spot, mate. Right. This is Man United. What the hell?
Manchester United we're talking about. Robbie.
Chelsea today, their spending went over £1 billion since Todd Bowley's come in.
Rightly so.
1 billion.
That's what a new owner does. You come in, you show you care, you spend your money, you put your money where your mouth is. Well done.
I think the thing for me with the Chelsea thing is how they've managed to acquire all these signings legally.
It's very extreme.
Within the
I know
rules.
what you're saying, but it's what they've actually gone and done.
We're all jealous.
It's taken it to the highest extreme ever. Even Nottingham Forest last year, they signed 26 odd. I mean, it's
I think
ridiculous.
It was 30 actually.
It's ridiculous what's going on.
But Forest
there.
are almost like a Chelsea light, aren't they?
Yeah.
The way it's the same business model. Maybe not as much money, but it's the same business model.
Crazy numbers.
Let's try and sign up.
Right, we are 1 hour and 3 minutes away from the window closing, guys. Unfortunately for myself, the Saudi Pro League window does not close until Thursday, so we might as well come back on Thursday and do this all over again, boys.
Can I ask a question? Just going back to Chelsea. They spent £1 billion since the manager's come in. Would you say they're close? They've put a team together that can challenge to win the league
Potentially.
this season?
No.
I said next
They've
season.
bought potential.
I did say earlier that I think next season they would be a viable contender.
Yeah, they haven't signed players to win a title this year, in my opinion. I know Poch the other day was saying I'm going for the title, the FA Cup and the Carabao.
He's got to say
I
that.
think it's 2 or 3 years away from being some serious top players.
Spend $1 billion. All right, let me just go through some names, right? So this is Chelsea's spending under Todd Bowley.
Oh, this is ridiculous. It's going to make me sick.
Moises Caicedo, 115 million. Enzo Fernandez, 106 million. Mikhailo Mudryk, 88 million. Wesley Fofana, 73 million. Mark Cucurella, 62 million. Romeo Lavia, 58 million. Christian Nkunku, 53 million. Raheem Sterling, 47.5 million. Cole Palmer, 42.5 million. Axel Disasi, 38 million. Badashile, 35 million. Koulibaly, 34 million. Nicholas Jackson, 32 million. Mudawaiki, 29 million. Malagusto, 26 million. Robert Sanchez, 25 million. Leslie Ukachukwa, I hope I pronounced that right, 23.8 million. Carney Chukwuemeka, 20 million. Andres Santos, 18 million. David Washington, 17 million. Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang, 12 million. João Felix, 10 million loan fee. Gabriel Sleona, 9 million. David Fofana, 8 million. Jimmy Ray Morgan, 3 million. And Dennis Zakaria, a £3 million loan fee. Spending
Are you
under
just making these names up? Who's Jimmy J. Morgan?
I'm telling you, these are the names, right?
Who's that?
Spending under Todd Bowley £1 billion.
What about the players going out?
Obviously, no, I'm just talking about the money they've spent, right? Now, obviously some of these players have since left, like Aubameyang and people like that, right? But I heard this I think it was Danny Murphy who said this the other day. How many of those players that I've just named out would get into Manchester City's team? They're the champions. How many of those players?
Well, Cole Palmer,
which one?
Say.
Well, Cole Palmer, they've got rid of.
Yeah, so but he was in their team.
Yeah, so. No, but the fact that they've got rid of him, shows that
they consider him surplus to requirements.
And they've considered him surplus to requirements, right? So how many of those players would get into Manchester City's team? You spent $1 billion.
None. As I said, they've signed potential. They haven't signed ready-made stars. I think if they were ready-made stars, that's when you can have that discussion. I think they've signed players that they know they can build, potentially grow. The problem is you can maybe say it's almost an uncohesive collection of talent. They've just said, you know what, every Brazilian wonder kid out there, every superstar kind of under 23 out there, come over here.
Does that make sense?
It might not make sense, but it's almost, I feel like Chelsea have too much talent to fail. At some points, the fruits of this will be shown. And if not, if there's one thing we've seen, Chelsea are selling well. Chelsea know how to sell their talents, and these players, they're going to be going out on loads. Strasbourg and other Premier League clubs
now that are on
Forest.
7 to 9 to 10-year contracts.
Yes, exactly, which is why eventually this will either come good in terms of we will be able to sell these guys for way more than we bought them for, or we will actually be able to develop them at other clubs and introduce them back in. Remember David Luiz and Matic, they once upon a time had at their clubs, let them go and then re-signed them.
I'm not being funny.
Chelsea are not above it.
I'm not being funny. If my club Arsenal spent £1 billion, I'm expecting to see amongst those names, number one title challenge, and amongst those names, I'm expecting to see a few superstar players.
Yeah. Well,
when I look for that, you say Caicedo
potentially.
Enzo Fernandez, obviously a World Cup winner, right? But I don't look in that, and if I'm playing Chelsea, and this is no disrespect, obviously Chelsea got some great players there, but none of those players scare me. No one's jumping out from that like a Salah or a De Bruyne, or a Haaland. Or you understand what I'm saying?
Question though, Robbie, would you not look at the PSG project over the past 6 or 7 years and see that assembling stars and getting mega stars and just plotting them in one team? No.
I'm not on about all stars, but I'm saying that.
But you're saying
amongst
at least
that
some
£1 billion, I'm supposed to see a couple of names like Salah type vibes where I'm thinking,
who is out there that's like that now? I don't think.
Well,
there's
why
that
spend £1 billion?
Of world
why just go out there?
Could I throw something into the into the arena here? Perhaps their most important signing was not a player, was the manager.
Yes,
I agree. That was a very shrewd appointment, especially when you're appointing buying a lot of young guys. To me, Pochettino is the guy that could knit a lot of that together. We saw how good he was at Tottenham. And yes, I thought at times some of the Tottenham fans did overrate him, calling him elite when he wasn't quite there yet. But I think that was a very shrewd managerial appointment, especially given a lot of the young players that they got at the moment. Pochettino is a very good signing.
I think, as I said, when he's walking into a situation now that's almost the same as what he had at Spurs, a bunch of young players that I get the chance to mould, and now you're going to see the fact that he's got the backing, he's got everything he wanted at Spurs, essentially at Chelsea. I think you're now going to see the best version of Poch, and within 2 or 3 years, you'll actually start to look at these players and be like, Reece James is world class. Caicedo, Enzo's won a World Cup. Oh my God, Nico Jackson, he's finally clicked it. Mudryk might turn it around all of a sudden.
So you're saying
there are a lot of mites in there, but that's what we do. You buy potential in this game nowadays.
Yeah, but I think, right, if you're spending that, if I was spending that sort of money, I want a mixture. I'd want some, obviously, like potentials. I'd have my Caicedos, my Enzos, my, Jacksons and people like that. But then amongst that, I'm going to have a few. Yeah, I'm going to have a few top players. I'm going to have a...
It's not realistic, though.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. The reality...
So that's what I'm saying. But so do you then need to go out and spend £1 billion?
Time will tell if it works or not. I think when we look back on this window or this period of spending from Chelsea, whether it carries on is yet to be seen. But let's say in 2 or 3 years, we look back and say that window won them the league 2 years later or 3 years later. Only time will tell. They can spend all this money as a rival of Chelsea. I hope it comes back to bite them in the bum in 2 or 3 years.
I don't know. I look on it and I just think, are Chelsea buying this to
more news, Robbie?
Have players to sort of say, right, we can sell them on later for a profit, or is this actually building a team that can really win the biggest things?
What I would say, and I would agree with you on this, is that if you look at it incrementally, Chelsea already 3 games in are already a much better team than they were last season. And that's just after 3 games. People like Sterling, he's playing really well. The young guys are already making an impression.
Thiago Silva.
So you would have thought that it's only going to improve, isn't it? Especially with a guy like Pochettino there. And I'm expecting them to do a lot better than they did last season.
They have to. There's no option. Yeah, the breaking news that I just had there for you from Fabrizio, who tells us that Ian Maatsen and Mark Cucurella are now both staying at Chelsea. We kind of presume that after
Ian
Reguilon went
another
to
player that
United.
they bought today linked with... They only just bought him today. He was linked with Burnley.
He said no to
the
Burnley.
Cucurella's been a disaster, really.
Yeah, for sure.
There you go. And this is what I'm saying. In a couple of years' time, could we be looking at 4, 5, 6 Cucurellas amongst that lot?
I'll be real with you, even Cucurella.
£65 million.
Everyone's being too hasty, bro. Like 2 seasons ago, we was all glistening. Cucurella, best left back in the league.
No.
Okay, one bad year at Chelsea, and all of a sudden he's a crap footballer. Write him off completely. It's like, well, what? There can't be second season improvements?
No.
Did we see Chelsea last year? How bad it was? Who looked good at Chelsea last year?
No, hold on. I'm not saying
Sterling didn't look good. But now, all of a sudden, new season, under a new manager, under a better structure. I think Cucurella,
that's the point I was making. Yeah.
Chilwell, you know he's going to get injuries, so he's going to get a run of games at some point.
Very true, but was he worth 65 million?
Hell no.
So that's what I'm saying. This is what I'm saying. I'm not saying... in no way am I looking at any of those Chelsea players and saying they're rubbish. They're not. They're all top talented players, right? But what I'm saying is, if I spend £1 billion...
I know what you're saying.
It was my team. I want to look amongst that list of about
and be proud of
20, 30 players there, right? And say, right, out of that, we've got a load of it, but out of that, I can see our, 4 or 5 world-class players. I'm being honest with you, that list that I've just read out, the only player that you could put in the world-class category would probably have to be Enzo because he won the World Cup, and I'm not even sure... if you say as well, Raheem Sterling's probably the world-class player out of that. He's the world-class player out of that squad.
He was before.
No, but Thiago Silva was, and he didn't come with it. He was before this, actually, before Todd Bowley.
Yeah.
And I think he didn't even cost anything, did he?
No.
He's obviously world-class. I'm looking at the rest of that lineup. None of that team, none of those names are world-class.
It's not how it goes most of the time. But there you go. That's
none of those. Cucurella's not world
class.
We'll
see if it is a waste.
He cost £62 million.
Yeah, I think
Wesley Fofana, good player,
70 mil.
Wasn't world class at £73 million, was he?
That's harsh, man. That boy's had back-to-back big injuries.
No, I feel for him. But I'm saying even when they bought him, he's not world class, is he?
We're at a stage now, though, Robbie, where you don't buy world class players anymore. Let's be honest. Clubs don't do that. Every big club now pretty much is trying to almost beat the Benficas and those types of clubs. Rather than getting bumped by them, I'm going to go straight to source. And they will overpay. That's what happened with Mudryk. Let's be honest. Mudryk should be going to someone like a Dortmund, playing for 2 years, and then Premier League club buys him. No,
to be fair to Mudryk,
and that's why he got ripped off.
To be fair to Mudryk, we were in for him heavily.
You lot up the price heavily.
Did we dodge a bullet there, or is it just that? Again, it's potential.
Mudryk goes
Chelsea are buying
second half of the season.
Because we got to be honest and say that we were on his case hard.
Yeah, I know you.
And we felt hard done by when we didn't get him. So
yeah. It'll be interesting.
But that was one player we were going to buy, right? I'm saying Chelsea have bought like a stack load of those players, right? And this may sound like I'm hating on Chelsea. I'm not. I'm just like, I just looked at it today and I'm like, when you know, because the graphic sort of came out today when they said 1 billion because they hit that mark. And I just sort of looked at it. I looked through the names and I'm like,
no one's moving you like that.
1 billion.
In answer
I spend £1 billion, man. I'm supposed to have some players in there that teams that are scared.
No, but in answer to the point that you made,
when Tottenham goes to Chelsea, will you be scared? You'll be very wary of a very good side with good young players. But you won't be scared, will you? You'll be scared when you go to City.
Scared,
even though you've got a good record.
We don't know the unknown.
But what does this tell us?
They're all young.
Does this tell us that
go on.
The way the clubs approach it, maybe they need to adopt the Brighton model, where they're really innovative and go out and find guys.
Brighton are scouting in countries that nobody wants to go to.
So maybe clubs need to do more of that.
Or just bid for the players that Brighton are trying to scout. So then they're doing the job.
I think the thing, you know what the thing.
That's kind of what they did with Leslie. To be fair, they said, "Oh, you want Leslie to replace Caicedo? We'll get him as well."
you know the thing on the Brighton thing is, I think as well, it's a little bit different for a team like Brighton, right? Because the expectations are lower for them. So a team like Brighton can afford to buy Caicedo for 4 million and patiently put him in the team for. I know he sort of took off straight away, but they could patiently build that player for a couple of seasons, and he could. You can't do that at Arsenal, can you? You can't do that. Look at Sambi Lokonga. Like,
I think you can.
You know. I think at the bigger clubs it's a lot difficult.
There's an expectation to definitely win
I think Robbie's right, and I'll tell you why.
Right? If you're Man United or if you're Arsenal, if you're Tottenham, if you're Chelsea, if you're, you bring a young player from Ecuador.
You don't give him 3 years to develop,
and he don't hit the ground running. I mean. Havertz has had 3 games and there's already Arsenal fans.
Yeah, the weight of expectation is different.
100%, I agree.
So fans are not going to give managers years and years to build.
I hear that, but at the same time...
Even Mikel Arteta, sorry to interrupt, he's under a lot... Robbie has just hinted at he's under a lot of pressure already, 3 games in. A lot of Arsenal fans think that the Havertz thing's not working out. And
but I think that when you have top youngsters, as we say, if they're good enough, they're old enough to play. I think you saw when Saka's coming through. He hasn't stopped playing, I think, for 3 years straight now. He's played every single Premier League game.
He just broke the club record the other day.
Absolutely. So my thing is sometimes when you see those types of talents abroad and a club wants to, and sometimes they're haggling, go and get that player, but then have a plan for him, if that makes sense. But then
Albert...
If you're like, okay, you're going to be a squad player this year. Next year, we're going to play you maybe 30 games in the league, and you might have to start half of them. But find an actual plan. The problem is, I feel like sometimes these clubs are buying potential, kind of what Chelsea are doing this year, where it's just, we're going to buy a bunch of potential, and hopefully some of it sticks. With them, I think they've bought too many.
I look on it and say, even if you're buying potential, you don't have to buy it all at once.
You know what Chelsea have done?
They're in a reset, man. And you know what? I also think there's a backlog thing where Bowley is clearing some money from the purchase of the club. That's what I think as well. I think when he bought Chelsea, there was a guarantee that he had to spend a certain amount. Spend a certain amount in order to keep this club operating the way it has been operating, essentially. Which is partly why I think he's been, you know what? Spend it all now, and it will come back to us within the next 4, 5, 6 years.
What Todd Bowley has done, he's adopted what I call a scattergun approach, which is just
throw enough shit at the wall.
Throw enough, and then out of the 12, maybe 3 or 4 of them are going to work and come through, and he's going to say,
All right, let's loads of more super chats coming in. By the way, there's some people saying about that penalty. That was a pen. Refs continue to ruin matches. That said, Kevin, that Luton penalty. I mean, bro. I just saw that looked like an awful.
No, that looked like an awful
decision. It was Ward-Prowse and Ball, definitely. Dr. Shubnam says Man United transfer window. Fire. Amrabat. Fire. About 5.
The Moroccan
Not bad.
Catamol.
Not bad. Miles Smith says we spent almost £250 million on 3 players. Midfielders are going for 100 million. This is the modern market now. But what about all the other players?
Yeah.
And then again, you see that they bought Caicedo and Lavia. Right? Mm-hmm. So is Lavia just an investment, or is he going to play? I mean, these are the sort of things.
One of those, literally perfect example. He is one of those supreme young talents. You've paid good money for him. Chelsea better have a plan to use him for the next 2-3 years.
Where's he going to play?
Him, Caicedo, and Enzo. Enzo's going to be the most free-reined of the 3. I feel like now you're actually going to get to see Enzo almost like the World Cup edition.
Conor Gallagher and the guys like that.
Who? And listen, you're academy boy, man. Hold the bench, man. What's all this?
Williams says the only true world-class players Chelsea have in their ranks are Thiago Silva, Enzo, great player but not world-class, and Reece James has the potential to be world-class. And of course, Reece James come through the ranks. Maybe that's another thing at Chelsea. It's not just Chelsea, annoys me about a lot of clubs. They'll have great players in their own academy and they never get a chance. The City have just sent out how many players on loan. When are some of them City players going to get a chance in the team?
Arguably, have we done that with Balogun?
Huh?
Have we done that with Balogun?
No, but then you could argue with Arsenal. They've cashed in on Balogun, but they have given Eddie a chance.
Yes,
and he's just broken into the England squad. Saka, Smith Rowe, right? So
But the Balogun one for me was.
I would like to see more. I would like to see more English players given a chance. Reece James and players like that. They only got a chance at Chelsea because of the transfer ban.
Yeah,
and he's their best player. You got
to earn the chance though. You can't just be given it just because you're a kid who's
I get that. I think
the one like Cole Palmer's a funny one because I thought with Man City's squad maybe lacking a bit of extra depth that they normally do. The last one that came through was Foden, and you're thinking, you know what? He's actually been held as almost like the next one up. The fact that they sold him so quickly as well, it all happened in a day.
Cole Palmer looked great.
Yeah,
scored a great goal against us.
Super Cup as well.
So surprised.
They've lost Mahrez and they sell him and go and buy Doku.
I know.
And now I'm not saying Doku's not a great player.
Doku's a problem though.
I'm not saying Doku's not a great player, but the guy that's come through your ranks don't deserve a chance.
He does.
I think you can't turn that money down for him.
But they spent the same. They spent more money on Doku.
Robbie, do you partly blame FFP though? Because they do this thing where if you sell an academy product or something like that, it goes against your books as like 100%
profit. Yeah, 100% profit. I guess so. Because
is that almost like an incentive to sell your youth product? Because that's what I feel like Chelsea are doing at the moment. Is
I was about to say that Chelsea, the way Chelsea have structured those long-term deals. Allows them under FFP to get away with what they're doing.
Yeah. Also, news today that a Premier League winning legend has returned to the top flight. Divock Origi goes back to Nottingham
Forest, isn't it?
Yeah.
Premier League.
Maybe a Liverpool legend.
The way you tried to build that up
Premier League
is disgusting.
Won the Premier League for Liverpool.
I can't believe you did that. I was really expecting some big name. I said Divock Origi. I said no.
That is the king.
Mamo says, Robbie, you're missing AGT's point. You can't predict what's to come. It's Chelsea's intention is to make a profit. These players will need to perform. If they do, you'd expect some success to come. Chelsea have made profit off of these loads of these players, but
AGT
I'm just saying.
Didn't even make that point.
888 Laser Beam says,
I'll take it though.
Kai Havertz, you mean why Havertz? Why did we buy him? Or why did you buy him? Laugh out loud. And Jake CFC, obviously a Chelsea fan, says, Robbie, drop the Chelsea agenda, bro. I've not got an agenda.
Tell him.
Do you think I've got an agenda against Chelsea?
Hey, listen. You got me looking like I'm the Chelsea fan in blue, bro. Like, the way I'm defending them. I'm like, yo.
Hey, Robbie,
I ain't got an agenda.
Nothing wrong with having I've got one.
Nah, you've got one. I don't have
Robbie tries to play the neutral guy.
Honestly, I don't have an agenda against Chelsea.
Get him.
I'm just looking at it and saying, if I spent £1 billion, I'm looking at £1 billion of spending, and I'm like,
no, but listen, you're quite right to question that. Anyway,
it is. No. Listen, you can be
not
skeptical.
an agenda.
I think, as you said as well, it is a bit of a scattergun approach.
It is a scattergun. I've got no doubt in that.
But I look at a lot of the talent that they bought, and I'm like, these guys in 2 or 3 years could become serious players.
More breaking news, guys.
As you said, the most important signing they made was the coach, and I believe the coach will get.
The way I see Chelsea carrying on is a bit like when I see Floyd Mayweather go to Gucci. Just go and buy out the store. and then probably only going to wear a certain amount of what he's bought. You know what I mean? It's just
more breaking news, Robbie. As the window draws to an end, 40 minutes to go. David Ornstein has just tweeted this: Mason Greenwood close to moving from Manchester United to Getafe on loan. Not done yet. Paperwork in the process of being finished, but clubs optimistic of completing.
That's interesting.
I don't know what that says.
I guess they've had enough scandals over in Spain right now to add more.
No, but you know what's interesting about that? You know what's interesting about that is that when we heard that he was on the move, a lot of people were speculating that he was going to go to some far-flung place. But, you know, he's ending up in Spain.
Mm-hmm. Well, he may end up in Spain. But I'm just saying, with the amount of scandal that's been going on with that Kissgate over there in Spain.
The racism last year.
Why? Anyway. Marlon Blade says, if Nkunku flops, Chelsea won't score enough goals. Well, unfortunately, he's one player that I think is actually a top quality player, and he's a bit unfortunate for Nkunku that, you know.
Who's that? He got the injury.
He got the injury, man. He's
definitely.
Because I was kind of really interested to see how he get on in the Premier League. He is a quality player. We're hearing that Brennan Johnson has just signed for Tottenham, according to Fabrizio Romano.
He came through the academy at Forest as well.
Come on, you Spurs.
Another academy, young Englishman getting games.
You're going for a lot of wide players, aren't you?
He's Welsh, actually.
Well,
so
he's Welsh. I was going to say, he's Welsh. But yeah, we've got a lot of... I think we needed a versatile position. Forest, we needed depth for Kulu. Kulu needed competition. Richarlison, we don't really have a backup for him, let's be honest. So I think he's coming to kind of fill those two positions as an understudy. Probably be a lot of impact off the bench. As I said, for me, I'm not expecting fireworks from this signing, but I just hope he can come... If he's going to be an impact man off the bench, last 15 minutes, come and use that blistering pace to good use type of thing. So... I'm trying to be optimistic. I'm trying to be optimistic, but I don't have the highest of hopes, I'll be honest with you. I think we could have gone better. Say that again?
I think that's a win-win for Forest.
Yes,
they get
massive.
No,
you're dumb.
No, listen, Divock Origi gave me some of the best nights of my life.
You know
Big
what,
pause, but on the footballing pitch, he scored the goal that secured our Champions League against Tottenham. You should be thankful. You shouldn't, but these two.
I hate that guy.
We do owe him a certain amount of gratitude because I
don't owe him nothing.
Because I don't know how I could have lived that down if Spurs had won
in the final.
Yeah,
rated for that.
Yeah, well done. Anyway, there is, like you said, under an hour. About 40 minutes ago, less than 40 minutes ago, the transfer window. Still waiting on confirmation of certain signings. This super chat here from Ashish. He says, should Man United have gone for Nunes instead of Mount?
Nunes?
No, Mateus. They could have gone for Szoboszlai. I think both options are better than Mount, if I'm honest.
Yes,
and Szoboszlai is half the wages of Mount,
man.
which
I must say the Mount thing surprised me.
Is going to be one of the signings.
The Mount thing surprised me.
We're as Liverpool fans, trust me, like we're already in love with him.
The day you signed him, I said it. I was like, yeah, he's going to be a problem.
I came out of nowhere.
And United fans were saying like 70 million. Oh my God, that's crazy. And I was like, okay.
It's actually 60 with 10 mil add-on.
I'd seen him play for Hungary against England. I was very impressed.
Bro,
captain,
right foot demon, dribbler,
super chat,
quick feet.
88 laser beam. AGT thoughts on Nat Phillips on loan. You never walk alone to Origi. Yeah, Nat Phillips one. There were rumours that
gone on loan to?
Celtic, which is a good move for him. There were links to Leeds. I think he kind of looked at the situation and thought, do I want to be playing in the Championship or can I go and experience something super unique in terms of the old firm derby? And I'm really happy for him. Listen, he's 27. I think he's only played about 50 odd games in his career, so he had to make this move. Unfortunately, it isn't a permanent, which I think would have been more beneficial to him, because if he comes back in the summer, it's kind of the same situation again, unless he has a stormer for Celtic. But I'm a massive fan of him. Him and Reece Williams basically got us in the Champions League in 2021. So I'm a massive Nat Williams fan, and he's going out of Liam Gallagher's daughter. So don't look back in anger, my friend.
Only you would know something like that, innit?
AC says Szoboszlai isn't even better than
Robbie,
Mount.
we got to stop you and get this pronunciation.
Listen,
right,
I can't lie to you. I've watched you for like 1 hour, 20 minutes.
Szoboszlai. It's easy.
Szoboszlai.
Just imagine a Scouser going,
Sobos?
that's Szoboszlai.
Yeah. That's actually a great way.
Imagine a scout.
Sobokai.
Sobby isn't better than Mount.
Sobby? What
Don't
about
be ridiculous.
Sobby Lyle over there? That's you, bro. What do you mean?
Big Sobby.
This is how he's been pronouncing
Sobby.
Soboslai.
That's how I'm going to say it
Sobby
for now.
Lyle.
Sobby. Aidan Quinn says, Robbie, when City bought De Bruyne for 65 million a few years ago, you wouldn't have called him world class. A few years later, he's elite. With Chelsea, give it time. This is their new model. Before De Bruyne went to Germany and was bought for £65 million, where was he? Chelsea. Right?
There you go.
So your model.
Good
Where
point.
was Mohamed Salah?
Exactly, it's a good point.
Hey, you cooked yourself there, man. Fez. You let him get over you, man. Fair play.
Oh, damn.
Listen, I take your point. That not every player, you know, and some of these players, but I'm just looking at, did they need to buy so many
I think
players?
we've laboured the point now.
No, I'm just, I'm just replying back to what you said. So
This guy.
right to reply, you know. What?
No, just
What did he say to you?
Him for even bringing up the Chelsea thing again. Maybe he's watching on a 5-minute delay.
I mean,
or something,
listen, I understand there's obviously a lot of Chelsea. There's a lot of Chelsea fans that, you know, they're going to defend Chelsea on this. I just find it a bit.
Tom will defend them
I
to
just
the
find it a bit
hills.
astounding. Yeah? I mean, you know, £1 billion. I'm just saying, if it's me, if it was £1 billion, I want to see.
Because I remember we used to
see a few
What would you do
superstars.
with a
We used to talk about that with Pep though. We used to say like, oh, he's finally spent $1 billion. Even United, like, oh, it's been $1 billion spent since Fergie, if you like. But to do it in a year, that's why I think there is the
all at
questions.
once. That's what I'm saying.
And I think Chelsea fans have to live with that.
$1 billion's the new 100 million.
Because it does take take time to assemble a squad, doesn't it? It does, like, you know, like they had to wait for Haaland.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And they had to wait on certain players, you know? So it does take a bit of time to assemble a squad. You can't do it all at once. And some of these, again, it's a risk. It's a risk reward, isn't it? Because even some of these long-term contracts, if the player's on fire, you've got him tied down.
You're putting $1 billion on red or black, and you're watching the ball spin round, and you're hoping for the best, but it could end on green.
What?
It was a gambling reference. You know the. No.
Don't gamble, mate.
I
was like, yo, what's the green? I didn't even know there was a green.
There's a red and a black, and then there's one green.
And what is that, like the neutral?
Fabrizio Romano, by the way, reporting that Trevor Chalobah is staying at Chelsea, so he won't be joining.
So it's a little flirt. Nothing serious.
I'll see him at the barbers. It's all good.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? We get
the same trim.
We get the same done at the same place.
Love it.
Are you riding with the ballers? Are you?
Yeah, me, Zaha, Wan-Bissaka. You know what I'm saying?
By the way, I'm still waiting to see who people think is the best signing of the transfer window.
I'm going with Soboslai, man. I've changed from JWP to Sobby Lyle. That's what I'm going with.
I'm going with. Like Laurie said, I'm sticking with that.
I knew you'd say that.
I'm going to go Declan Rice, man. You know what I mean, I think Declan. If I'm being 100% honest, right, I think it's going to be between 3 midfielders that could come out in this, right, and they're all English. Declan Rice, Maddison, or Ward-Prowse. I think they're all great in their different ways. In that, Maddison, top quality player, real value for money at 40 million. Same with Ward-Prowse for 35 million. I think going to a team like West Ham as well, where, you know, he's got people who will get on the end of some of his excellent deliveries. And Declan Rice, because I think Declan Rice is what Arsenal needed as a leader, and I think long term it's going to be an amazing signing for Arsenal.
Yeah, it's the impact they have on the club.
Do you know who I would say is going to match that impact at their club, respectively? Sandro Tonali.
Great signing. Great
70 million.
Great shout.
Debut came in. I think physically he's able to handle this
last
Premier
week
League.
as well.
We usually say Italians struggle to adapt, but I think the way the Newcastle fans have even taken to him.
Yeah, I think you're right, you know.
I'm going Tonali, Maddison, and Sobo would be the top 3.
Yeah, Tonali,
no Declan Rice.
Do you know what? He's very
We're
good
talking
signing,
about
I think.
impact
Listen,
on clubs.
Impact, I think you already had Partey and Xhaka there. So it's almost like he's got to come in and fill that Xhaka role, similar to what he was doing at West Ham last year. For me, I just hope this Havertz thing doesn't keep going on. Do the Partey, Rice, and Odegaard and crack on. Well, personally, I don't mind. Carry on as long as you like. But I think to get the best out of Rice, it's almost like you can see at the moment he's waiting to be unshackled. He's like, please stop playing Partey at right back so I can burst forward. But at the moment, he's just... And I just feel like till I see that at Arsenal, I can't say, you know...
That's a fair comment.
I actually think the best signing for... Well, would have been a contender for the best signing... for me, would have been Jurrien Timber if he hadn't got injured. He looked amazing to me in pre-season. First game, I was like, wow, this guy's a beast. And he would have been. It's such a shame that he's got injured. Just the same with Chelsea. I was excited to see what Nkunku would do because I've seen him at Leipzig. He's a very good player.
And we've been speaking about him since January.
Yeah,
as
and
well.
I was like, he's going to be, and both of them out with ACLs. It's
Timber
crazy.
one, I think,
absolutely
is
crazy.
The transfer that probably annoyed me the most. I've been loving Timber the last 2 years since he's come through at Ajax, and I was like, yeah, when he comes to the Premier League, you know, maybe we can snatch him. You know, if he ends up under Ten Hag, no problem, I understand. To go to Arsenal and like come off the plane, yeah, it was only 40 minutes. Yeah, it was nice. I love being here. I'm like, bro, relax.
Nice guy.
Yeah, like he was loving it too. Honestly, it was a move that broke my heart, and I was like, yo. And then you see the first pre-season games, I was like,
He's a beast.
Play right back, play left back,
But
play
he's
centre-back,
also
playing
a
a three,
beast
playing a
that can
two.
play.
I'm like, yo, this guy can do it all. And
I'm
I
gutted
think
for him.
when he comes back from injury,
big blow.
it's gonna,
Yeah.
I hope we see the
What
same
about
level.
this one? Sifo says
Doesn't
Nicholas Jackson.
score enough goals.
He has looked lively though. He has looked, you know, in his first. Remember, it's only 3 games. He scored 1 goal in his first 3 games, and he looks a handful, don't he?
Time will tell.
He looks.
His link-up play is incredible.
Do you not think he looks like a good player?
His link-up play is very good. His pace is
everyone.
incredible as well. I think he'll be able to stretch defences as well.
What I would say
think
about him already, he doesn't look like a natural finisher. Not a natural finisher.
He doesn't. And I said this season, what he's going to be is he's going to be the if he gets it together player. There's going to be so many times in the season where we're going to look at Nico Jackson and say, he's got everything. But if he can get that finish, similar like Darwin last season, let's be honest. And then you see the 2 finishes this weekend and you're like, has it finally clicked?
Yeah.
Uh-oh, we might be in trouble. And that's what you I think Nico is going to be this year. There's going to be a lot of frustrations, but I think there's too much good to think that he's going to come bad, in my opinion. He's definitely going to come good.
888 Laser Beam says best signing was Bellingham to Real Madrid, not Rice. So we're kind of talking about the Premier League.
Diaby as well.
But best signing in European football, you know what, Harry Kane.
I was going to say.
Bayern Munich, man. He's already scored 3 goals in 2 games.
Yes. 1 assist. 1 assist.
And 1
as well.
assist.
Yeah.
Half an hour to go, guys.
Signing.
Half an hour to go. 31 minutes.
And let's face it as well, strikers are like gold dust.
Yeah. And I feel like him signing for Bayern Munich has immediately put them back into Champions League contention. Like prior to him going there, people would have said, I don't know if I fancy Bayern. But now with him there, you actually feel like they can go deeper.
Yeah.
Where would you rank Moussa Diaby?
That's up there as well. Good signing, man. He's already hit the ground running, top quality player. Did brilliantly in German football. I think Villa really got himself a gem there. I was so surprised that more teams didn't go for him.
Yeah.
That's a great signing.
And he was one of the reasons why as well. A lot of people were tipping Villa as an outsider for that Champions League spot.
Fantastic signing.
Which am I believing, is it 5 clubs this year?
Next year.
Next year. Okay.
Mars Smith says, Robbie, are you disappointed that we haven't signed anyone today? With an injury to Timber, I think the lack of late business might undo the business we've done. I agree with you, Mars. I do feel that Arsenal should have signed somebody today as backup in the defensive areas. Timber's a massive, massive miss. We let Tierney go, which I find that weird now that, you know, because of these, we haven't strengthened in the area. Rob Holding's gone to Crystal Palace as well. I do find it strange that Arsenal didn't get even
still
at
got
least
Cedric,
a loan.
so don't worry.
Well, exactly, you know what I mean?
Year 3 of Mr. Suarez.
Exactly, you know, so, anyway. Twinny says Chelsea has spent $1 billion saving at-risk youth from the favelas of Brazil. That's very Right, Goddess M says Liverpool went from the worst midfield in the league to the best midfield in the league. Fire. I about the best midfield in the league.
Time will tell.
The best midfield
Time
in the
will
league.
tell.
No, are you saying that?
No, I'm saying time will tell.
That's his favourite word today. I clock it.
So
Time will tell.
You
Because
think,
it's all too early to judge any of it.
but you think potentially that's
Let's
the
get
best,
wrapped up in the moment.
Yeah.
potentially best midfield in the league? Liverpool's.
Time will tell.
Hey.
All right, give us
no,
your-
No. I
What's
think
the
there's a better
midfield?
one, Robbie. Do you have the best attack in the league?
Time.
Now he won't say time will tell. Now he'll say yeah. I got him. You see, I got him.
Time will tell.
Oh, he was ready to say yes.
Time will tell, mate.
Gosh.
When the Saudis come, and they got still because the Saudi transfer window doesn't close until what, Thursday? You said
No,
Yeah,
the
time will
20th,
tell.
isn't it?
Time will tell.
Time will tell with
20th of
that one.
September.
The 20th, yeah. I think it's the
So they
20th.
can
So
still swoop down.
let me just double check.
AG time will tell.
Saudi transfer window.
Check that Saudi transfer windows
Yeah.
shutting.
Yeah, sooner the better.
The
Yeah.
Cronkies must be
move on.
sleeping, says
Wednesday,
KC.
20th September.
Oh, Wednesday?
Yeah,
Even better.
20th.
All right.
What?
That's a long time,
20
mate.
days then. I thought
Renzo-
someone told me.
Yeah, mate.
People are liars.
Renzo says,
Jesus,
what happened to Tottenham's interest in Tap Sober? And Nico Jackson says 6 million 007. Nico Jackson will either be an Addy Bayor or a Addy Akimbini.
Adi Akinbayi.
That's deep,
Oh,
man.
man.
Yeah, but he was never like a gunman in the Prem. He was like a champ League One kind of guy.
What, you mean the Akinmini for Burnley?
Yeah.
That's harsh,
yeah.
man. That is harsh.
So the window closed on the 20th of
Yeah.
September.
20th
Why
of
so
September.
long? Klopp spoke about that in his press conference today, how they both need to finish at the same time. If they're going to be so influential on buying everyone's best players, at least, if you can just buy them out of ground, at least let our windows finish at the same time.
They ain't part of the European governing body, so they
That's what I'm saying. They've got
Step
a lot
in,
of
FIFA. Do the
European
right thing.
clubs are running scared.
Look at them running to the teacher. Sir, they're taking our salads.
I saw what Seferin said about the Saudi. I thought he'd been very arrogant when he's sort of saying, they got no chance of challenging.
Only players who are unambitious will go there.
We'll go to
said
players. Seferin of
UEFA president.
UEFA.
Oh,
That's the type
Very,
of arrogance that
very
will
arrogant.
prove a lot of clubs undoing if they.
Yeah,
have that
very,
approach.
very
Is that
arrogant.
Bournemouth Stadium? It looks like a tin pot like little calf.
It's vitality.
I like that
Vitality.
stadium. I like the Vitality. It's a good stadium to go to, man. You know
I'm
what I
just
mean?
saying, right, with the lights off, it looks like a car park.
That was so harsh.
Casey says,
it looks
is
like a
there 0% chance we sign another
gym.
player, Rob? I think it is 0% chance. We're nearly, 24 minutes
24
away.
minutes. There's still time, Robbie.
There's no time for
still
Arsenal
time,
because
Robbie.
we've not been. There's not been linked with anybody. No one's been mentioned or anything.
listen.
Anyway, Patson Daka's deal to Bournemouth is off. It was not going to. It's not going to happen. Patson Daka was linked with a move from Leicester to Bournemouth today. Reports that will be off. And official Albert Sambi Lokonga has joined Luton on loan for the season. Of course, he was at the game tonight, so he's
We did have to
join-
walk through someone's garden to get there.
Lyon, Olympic Lyon have agreed a loan deal for Diego Moreira from Chelsea. Who's he?
Diego
That's what I'm
Moreira.
That's, yeah.
Another one.
Diegsy. You don't know Diegsy.
That's another one. You know what I mean? That's what I've said. How many players they got?
Diego Moreira. That's the kid they signed from Benfica, wasn't it?
Going back
don't
to
even know.
Sambi Lokonga, I think that's a good move for him. Actually, I think he'll get regular first team football.
Wasn't
when
he
it's
at
a
Palace
chance.
last year?
guys
Yeah, but he didn't really feature
remember
much
when
for Palace.
Vincent Kompany said he had shades of Patrick Vieira about him?
Yeah,
He
I
did.
do.
Yeah.
No, it wasn't Vieira.
Like,
It
what
was,
Vieira? He said he's the new
what's his name?
the new Yaya Toure.
Hey! Oh, you don't want to go there?
That's what he said. That's what he
No,
said.
but he said shades
Kompany.
of.
Shades
You have
of.
blood on your hands.
Bro, when I play, I've got shades
So
of
is he on
Steven
his-
Gerrard,
is he on
but
his
it doesn't
Burnley
mean
then?
I'm as good as him.
Who?
Lokonga. Where is he on his
Luton Town.
Oh, you should have
Joined-
gone Burnley.
Near the
Joined Luton
airport.
Town on loan.
Company, if you really believe in him,
Do you know
take
what the
him.
best thing about joining
They
Luton
wanted
is?
him apparently, so that's a bit
Close
weird.
to the airport, so you can just leave.
Listen, I think that's a good move for him. He'll get regular football. It's a chance to revive his career. So we'll see how it goes.
But it goes back to what I was saying about the fact that when you're, we was talking about the Brighton thing. the fact that if, say, Asambi Lokonga was at a Brighton, patience would be shown. He could get a full season.
Maybe not at Brighton,
playing.
Actually. I think their level's gone up a bit. Maybe someone.
It has, but I'm saying Brighton are able to bring in a player like an Enciso and say, right, you're starting.
Yeah.
Right, and give him a run of games. Even if he's had a couple of bad ones, he'll have a run.
But, yeah.
They can bring in Estupinian and say, right, you're starting. Liverpool can't do that. We can't. Arsenal can't do
even
that.
look at the example
it'll be a couple of games, and if you ain't really hitting those heights.
I'll give you an example of that in another way. Danny Welbeck, he left Arsenal, he couldn't get games for us. He's gone to Brighton. He's been a regular start for them. He's done well for Brighton.
What a great career Danny Welbeck's had, by the way.
I'm looking at it from the point of view as a young player that you bought in from abroad, that a team like Brighton can afford to say to Mitoma, for instance, play. You're going to get a run of games, and he can have a body of work to build. At the bigger clubs, it's really difficult for them. Just
as I said, it's the weight of expectation, and the scrutiny is different.
It is.
The scrutiny is different. Like with Havertz at the moment, every single thing he does is being looked at, dissected.
It's more costly, isn't it?
You know what I mean? And if you're not reaching those numbers or not having that impact, people are going to let you know straight away. There's no bedding in process.
No.
People want results now.
But I think those that are brave give the young a chance. And I think you saw that with Wenger a lot of times previously as well. I know we say at the top clubs it's harder, but I think if a manager does believe in that young talent, he gives him a chance. You saw Rico Lewis last year was playing City under 21s for the first half of the season.
Slightly different with City though, because it's easier to assimilate players like that
but that's
when they're playing alongside.
But you can make that argument for every top team in saying, oh, they've got a top coach, they should be able to assimilate their kind of players easier. But it's never, as you said, because of that expectation. It's that fear of failure, really and truly, why they don't give the youngsters a chance. But that's why I believe the brave managers, when it comes down to if you can trust that youngster and guide him, because that's your job as a coach. You have to guide him through these and develop him. A lot of the times as managers aren't brave enough to want to do that. I'll go for the safe option.
And that's why I cited the example of Pochettino. Perhaps he's their most important signing. You've got all those young guys there. You need a manager that's going to bring them on.
That's where I feel like United have lacked, I think, sometimes in some areas. Like when they were sticking with the McFred for years, I always just thought, hey, get one of these kids to just play who you feel like can maybe give you more. But Ollie never had that confidence in any of them kind of youngsters, if you like. But this season, you've seen Kobe Mino has come through, and there's big excitement around him. I want to see how Ten Hag handles that situation. So we'll see.
Murad says, do you think Arteta will want to buy it in January instead? And he also said our window's been a bit disappointing with Timber out. I think, I'm just disappointed that they didn't bring in someone. I don't think the window's been disappointing. I just think it's been disappointing that they didn't bring in someone today as cover for Timber. But I don't think
like who though?
That's the question.
Well, that's it. And probably they've looked at it and said. But the thing is, there is an element of a lot of managers and a lot of clubs will say, right, let's not blow all our budget right now in the summer. Let's hold back something in case we do need something in January. Lots of clubs do that. So
we do a lot of good business in January. We got Luis Diaz last year.
We got Porro last January. The year before that, I think we got Kulusevski.
Yeah. We bought in Jorginho.
Does come in handy, the January.
And Trossard as well in January. So Veggie says, which midfield three are you taking? Nkunku, Enzo and Caicedo, or Rice, Partey or Odegaard? We already know Robbie's answer. All right, I won't give my answer. What are you lot saying? Is Nkunku really a midfielder?
No, he's not.
He's a winger.
No, Nkunku can play in the 10.
See, he doesn't really. That's not really excels there, does he?
For me, that's where I thought he primarily was. He played as a second striker sometimes, or as a false 9 for RB Leipzig. But I think as a 10 is almost like his natural position, is what I would say.
Yeah. So what trio then are you going for? Nkunku's fit. Nkunku, Enzo, Caicedo, or Rice, Partey, or Odegaard?
Rice, Partey, Odegaard, or Nkunku.
I'm going Arsenal's.
I can't lie. I think
Quite
I'm going.
Simple choice, really.
I think it's
I'm going Chelsea.
To be honest.
Bit of a
I know you would too.
I think I like the World Cup winner. Caicedo and Rice, as I said, they're neck and neck. And then Nkunku. Yeah, I like Nkunku.
You would. Marlon Blade says.
And what you got to remember as well about Arsenal's trio, that trio you just named, they're all proven Premier League top quality players. So that says a lot. All three of them. Bonafide.
Marlon Blade says, did you see the clip of Pochettino forgetting some of his players' names?
Oh, that was hilarious.
A journalist asked him about Malang Sarr, and he said, who? Yeah, I did see that clip. That's what I'm saying.
I was like, this
how can
is
you know their names?
Malang Sarr. He probably forgot he came back from loan, and then it was one of the goalkeepers, I believe, who played in one of the early preseason friendlies. But
I feel like some of the journalists in that press conference room were trying to catch him out a little bit.
Definitely.
They were saying, hang on, let's test him. Who have they got? Who's the one I least recognise? Right, so is he going to have a good season?
No, but Malang Sarr, he genuinely looked like he did not even know who he was. Yeah. You know, like,
just
if he's your player, just in general. Who is that?
Do you know Fuad?
No clue, like.
I've never heard that name in my life.
Hilarious. I thought that was funny, to be fair.
Oh my God, man, that's a big squad. By the way, big it up to you guys as well. Nearly 6,000 of you here watching our last hours of the transfer window. To tell the truth, I can't wait for it to finish now. You know, I mean, I've been doing transfer daily shows since June.
Yeah,
right, and we're here now, right at the end, man.
Do you know what?
Time to shut it now, man, and we just get on with our business.
Do you know what I can't wait to do, Robbie? Turn off notifications for David Ornstein and Fabrizio. And normally, in the next 16 minutes, I'll be overcome with joy. I could do it all. But now knowing that the Saudi window stays open for 3 more weeks, you guys are sweet. I'm the one that now.
No, you know what? The Saudis could still try and come in for Gabriel. Right? They could.
Well, take their attention away because honestly, it's bullying at this point.
The Saudis are bullying it. Lukaku, by the way, has gone to Roma.
Yeah, made his debut tonight.
He actually came on the pitch tonight in the game against AC Milan.
Can we just talk about Roma for a second? Like, the reception that they give to players is just...
He's one of their own.
Astonishes me every time. Bro, Dybala, you thought the Pope basically came.
Literally.
And it was the whole city came out. Lukaku, who's played for Inter Milan, Roma rivals.
45k out.
Linked with Juve just earlier in the window, Roma rivals. Gets a reception like he is the new king in town. It baffles me, but I'm like, you know what? Fair play. The fans love the club. That's all you can say. Yeah. But under Jose Lukaku, you know what he does with his number 9s? Could there be something special cooking over there?
Cooking.
Hey,
no,
Dybala.
No move for Donny van der Beek. He hasn't been able to find a club.
Good.
He stays put.
Good.
At Manchester United. What a flop that's been.
Yeah.
40 odd mil. Yeah, you have to feel sorry for him. Horrendous injury. And you would have thought that even with the poor form at United, the injury, you would have thought out of all these clubs in Europe, someone would have taken a punt. A Real Sociedad, a Betis.
I don't think after the Everton loan really did him a disservice. I think they
MLS awaits.
They signed him. Well, they signed Dele Alli all at the same time, and it just never seemed to work.
Saudi, they won't be interested.
Canadian Gooner says, no more early morning death stare from Robbie.
By the way, Conor Gallagher staying at Chelsea. Same goes for Maatsen, Cucurella and Chalobah, says Fabrizio. And Ansu Fati has been unveiled at Brighton. What a signing that is for them.
Is it?
A season-long loan.
Yeah,
really?
Come on, just because you wanted him.
Yes, because you lot wanted him at Tottenham.
Listen.
You wanted him at Tottenham, didn't you?
Enjoy the Europa League. Enjoy the 15 minutes at the end of games that you get. We would have given him 75 minutes per game guaranteed.
No, but you can't give him Europa League. You can't give him Europa League.
Enjoy it, though.
You can't give him Europa League.
From Barcelona to the Europa League, yeah, that's what you're going to flex. Go for it. Go flex the Europa League. Barcelona to Brighton. Do you know how much of a fall-off that is?
Do you smell that, Robbie?
Enjoy Brighton, mate.
Kind of lemony.
Barcelona were in.
What's the rock sweets? What's the rock sweets they got?
Barcelona were.
Go eat one of them, blood.
Barcelona were.
Go suck on a rock, blood.
Barcelona were in the Europa League last year.
Yeah, and what happened?
What
happened? So Frankfurt crushed it on them.
Also, another bit of breaking news. Rob Holding has joined Crystal Palace from Arsenal in a permanent deal. 1 million plus 2.5 million in add-ons. 27-year-old has signed a 3-year contract and is eligible for selection on Sunday. That news sent in by David Ornstein.
What a major L.
$1 million
1.5
at 27. fair play. Good move for him.
For him, yeah.
Good move
Because
for
he's
him.
there till he's 30 now. But $1 million? How much did you... And I'm not saying you brought him in to make a profit on selling him, but what was the actual fee that you paid for him in 2015,
Next to nothing.
16?
It was about 4 million.
From Bolton, was it?
Yeah, and he was only valued at about $1 million as well.
The next Gary Cahill, this
So,
guy. But
no.
Please respect Cahill,
do you remember
man.
we met Cahill? Good lad, didn't he?
Yeah, I met Rob Holding many a times. A very nice guy.
almost.
Very nice guy.
That is a good move for him now. I hope
Very
he
good
does
move
well.
for
I
him.
hope he does
He is
well.
wish him all the best, man. He's never...
Servant to Arsenal, man.
Yeah, servant. Never a starter, but he did well. Mamo says...
North London derby.
yeah, you always remember that one. Yeah, yeah, it's better than Dyer. Mamo says, "How is Robbie going to call players? How is Robbie going to call players a flop when Van der Beek was mainly injured, but moan about the word bottle with Arsenal?" Come
I
on.
agree. I do think flop is harsh though, because the first year he wasn't given a chance by Ollie. The second year he got injured and loaned out, and now he's just kind of come back and
Should have stayed at Ajax.
Former manager. I agree. Should have stayed at Ajax another year, but who says not?
All right,
to
he's
United?
not a flop. He's successful.
Sarcasm there,
Yo, Robbie,
or-
you're so cruel, man. You're so cruel.
What's your man's blaming
This
me?
is why I don't want Arsenal to have success or good windows.
the man's
This is what
blaming
they
me.
become.
He's blaming for calling him a flop. He's a flop.
He has been a flop. He's been a flop.
I reserve
Just
flop
admit.
for like guys who've actually played and been bad.
Do you know who I won't have down as a flop? Nicolas Pepe. I will not have him down.
Oh, what?
I will not have him down.
He's actually played and been whack.
He's a flop.
16,
But you know what?
16 goals in his first
Oh,
season.
here they come up bringing the numbers.
but when you
do
consider
you want me
the
to deep dive
fanfare-
into those numbers and see which ones
on.
were actual stat pads,
Let's
which
go.
ones were in the Europa League
If
and
you can be
nonsensical
bothered, if you
against
want that
Ludogorets
scope.
and them,
But
man.
regardless of all
Hey.
that, when you consider the fanfare that he came into the club, and I was a
He
big
did flop.
supporter of his.
He did flop.
We have
Just
to be
like
honest.
Richarlison.
I respect
I was
that.
trying to give you one
Richarlison.
there.
Flop from day one. Flop before he even arrived.
he
I
flopped
told
before
y'all
he came.
last year. Remember?
He flopped
I got to
for
tell you
money.
100 times a show. I told them.
But we
told
should
you
also
guys, so, man.
counterbalance that by saying just because it didn't work out for you at one club doesn't mean to say you're not a
Where's
good
he
player.
from?
Fully agree. Fully agree.
Pepe.
He's not.
Well,
one.
he's still at Arsenal at the moment. So
Do you think there's a role
Well,
for
he's
him?
got 10 minutes to get a move.
there's even been talk that they may cancel his contract.
Nah, that-
You need a backup for
I'd
Saka.
like,
You know
yeah,
what?
we need a backup for Saka. I'd like to keep him.
You know what I'm going to say, right? I'm surprised the Saudis haven't come in for him because
Well,
he's still
apparently,
young enough.
apparently,
They're
the,
doing
Saudi,
that, though. They
apparently
are
the Saudis
interested.
did come in for me. Don't want to go to Saudi.
Doesn't he?
Yeah,
He's got unfinished
So-
business, man.
not for everyone.
I think. Listen, Arsenal would like to move him on. He's on massive wages, gets about 170 grand a week. Still paying him that. They would have liked to have moved him on. There's still the Turkish. I think their window's still open till a little later than ours.
Yeah.
There
German
were
one's shut now.
Besiktas, Galatasaray. They were all interested in him. But if personally, I wouldn't be against him staying as backup to Saka.
I'm surprised no Premier League clubs come in.
I think
because
it'd be
he's a
silly
talented
to let
player.
him go when he could easily slip in and be a 15, 20 game sub appearances for Saka kind of player.
Yeah. I think they're more thinking just from a wage standpoint.
Yeah, I hear
Yeah.
it. I hear it.
170k.
Yeah, they wanna
for
get their way-
15
wanna get
games
their
a
wages
season.
there.
8
We can
minutes
clear
away,
that.
boys.
8 minutes until the window closes. Gerstwak says Jude Bellingham, Tuameni and Camavinga are second to none. That is some midfield.
Don't forget Arda Güler as well. Turkish kid that they signed
Yeah,
from
they just signed
Fenerbahce.
him.
Don't forget Valverde.
Who? We've forgotten about him already.
He's got his own little agenda, doesn't he?
Yes, I know.
He likes or hates, and then if he hates someone,
Do you know what it
it's
is?
just a mad
My boy
reason why.
Faisal loves Valverde,
It's
so
all
I'm
mad.
always on him.
It's like you hate Pau Torres as well.
Nah. Don't get
You
me
hate
started on
him.
that one. Don't.
You hate him.
I don't hate him.
You do.
I just objectively don't think he's a good defender.
Okay.
He didn't look too good last week in that game.
You wonder
but-
why Palace didn't have a look at Pepe, especially with Zaha gone.
Because they got Elise, because they got Eze.
Yeah.
But they got they could.
What?
Why
yeah.
don't-
Elise is 10
what
times
about
a player.
Wolves?
No, but
Because
it-
Wolves have done with him. With Dharma Traore left,
Yeah.
Podence, Neto.
I'd start Pepe maybe.
Fulham
Oh,
with-
actually, Neto is a baller, I have to say.
Yeah, I would start Podence and Neto.
Yeah.
He would have been preferred
He's
to.
got to go-
man.
Well,
At Fulham, he would be preferred to Willian, wouldn't he? Surely.
Williams on the other side.
But he can play on that side as well.
Well, Pepe can play left wing. He can barely play right wing.
No, he's left footed.
what do you guys make of this? Like what you've just said there has raised a question for me. I don't like this whole. Oh, Salah can only play right wing.
I agree.
He's left-footed,
I agree.
which means he can beat a man and cross it with his left foot.
Yeah,
from the
Pepe is
wing.
left
Do you know
footed.
what's happened?
So what's going on
Systems
here? Robin
don't-
ruined the game.
No, not Robin.
Robin
no,
ruined
not Robin.
the game.
He never.
Beckham, right midfielder, right foot.
Cristiano was doing inverted them times as well.
Who?
Would you not blame Cristiano and Messi? They're the two I would say ruined it.
But Robin ruined it because it was like footed.
Robin was a move. Robin was an undeniable move. You can't stop it. The problem is now everybody thinks they're a Robin, and it's like you're not. Some of you just need to go back to being old school wingers, beat your man 1v1, get to the byline and whip it in the box.
Sometimes it's be a left midfielder.
Players now, have you seen?
He said he can't play left wing. He's left-footed.
No, I agree with that. But is Pepe going to want to play left mid? Because I
promise you,
he's getting 170 grand a week. I'll play where I tell him to play.
Go tell Arteta then.
Do you know what I mean? I feel like there's this
I agree with you.
Like, hang on.
By the way, William
he can't play.
Yeah, he's left-footed.
William Contreras says Pepe was an absolute flop for us. The fact some of us even have the idea to bring him back into the side as backup for Saka is ludicrous. Laugh out loud. Listen, it's better than having him just sitting on the bench doing nothing. Well, he wouldn't even be sitting in the bench, just sitting in the squad, earning money for no reason, assimilating back into the squad if, as it looks very, very likely now, he's not going to be moving on anywhere. So that's just my view on it. But he is going to be staying. Mason Greenwood to Getafe. We're being told here by Fabrizio Romano that the deal has been sealed and signed. Manchester United have given the player the green light to sign.
That's a good move.
He had a deal with Lazio, but that collapsed. So he will be going to Getafe. Over in Spain, as I said, if they needed more controversy when it comes to women and stuff like that, they've now got it by signing him.
No, but from Mason Greenwood's point of view, I think that's a good move. I mean, Getafe, what are they, mid-table Spanish club?
Well, of course, it's
probably the only option.
It's a great move for him because he's lucky to be still playing football with what's happened.
That's true.
So it's a chance for him to, to rebuild
resurrect
back his career. Neil Mopey.
Brentford,
said to be going to Brentford on loan. Of course, the club where he started, didn't he? He was at Brentford.
That move to Everton's been an utter flop. I was so shocked when they got him in first place.
I think he might have scored 1 or 2 goals tops.
Have you guys seen the Felix? He's been confirmed to Barcelona.
Felix confirmed to Barca.
Did you also see that he's extended his contract a further 2 years to 2029 at Atletico Madrid? He did the same thing when he signed on loan to Chelsea. Bro, why do you keep signing extension to this jail contract? No, but he is signing the contract. It's not holding value. I'm sorry, you're being stupid at a certain point.
So basically they're saying to him, you're only going to be able to move if you give us a chance to make a load of money on you in the future.
That's not my job. You signed me to a 5-year deal. After 5 years, I'm free to walk. And at the moment, he seems like he doesn't want to be there by any means necessary.
No, but from what I heard, he does want to be there, but he's falling out with the manager.
Guess what? You're not going to outlast Diego. He's been there 10 years. He's about to win another title this year. That's going to be 3. He's got them to 2 Champions League finals. Bro, stop trying it. You're just a flary kid from Portugal. What do you think, Barcelona?
You're just a flary kid from Portugal.
After a couple of games,
come on, man. João Felix hype is over now, man.
From Portugal.
Listen, I've got the same energy for João Felix that I have for Kai Havertz. I'm sorry. They've been around the same amount of time. They were being put on the same table as Mbappe and Haaland 2 or 3 years ago, and now where are they? But everyone's still got love for João Felix for some reason. Allow it, man. I'm watching you closely this year at Barca.
Also, do you know that the first day in training for Tottenham will be interesting? Because do you remember when Richarlison was doing them kick-ups at Forest?
What kick-ups?
Do you know who's the man that scythed him down?
It's Brendan Johnson, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's fine. Do you remember him and Romero were also having beef the year before when he signed? So we're used to signing enemies to the same club.
No, but to be fair, Richarlison has beef with everyone.
Yeah, I was going to say that.
Rodders007 says, love the content. What's the definition of a flop? Player's been a disaster.
Depends on the many variables, what position, how much they were signed for,
expectation.
I know, it's getting scary, mate. We might have to end the stream.
You are right, though. The variables, I mean, like, the obvious one is the amount you pay for a player. And if he doesn't perform, then obviously the narrative is you've wasted all that money.
Yeah.
Andy Carroll at Liverpool. If you look up flop in the dictionary, that's what would come up.
Wasted his career.
There's flop and there's mega flop. I think that's a mega one.
Yeah.
Torres to Chelsea is another one.
Lukaku to United.
The Torres to Chelsea one is weird, right? Because on paper, yes, it took him like 4 months to score a goal. But if you actually look at his impact in the Champions League semi-final, the final, he wins the corner that they score from. He won every trophy with Chelsea, by the way. Every one.
Was that
apart
was you a bus rider or was you a bus driver?
Was that in spite of or because of?
He was a temporary driver that came in on the odd shift when the actual driver.
That's a bit like saying.
And you know what? The semi-final goal as well. Yeah, that the Gary Neville.
Changes their history.
They were already qualified by the Ramirez goal. You do realise that,
sure,
right?
but he wins the corner in the final that Drogba gets the header on the end of.
It's only right that I should point out to you that Jimmy Traore is a Champions League winner.
As he should be. As he should be.
You are a despicable man, Laurie.
So, remind you, the Arsenal players are.
But your point about the flop is a good one, though. The variables have to be taken into account, and that's why I said with Pepe. Like for me, Robbie will tell you, I was an advocate of his.
Yeah.
I see a talent there. On his day, he's very good, but we've just not had enough days. Mm-hmm. And then when you pay him, that was a club record fee at the time, 70 million. And he just didn't do it consistently.
And Ndombele for us.
And even now he's gone out on loan to various clubs, he's not sealed the deals there either. So
certain players, there can be certain players under a lot of pressure. I feel, because of price tags, now this transfer window, of
Hazard
course,
at Madrid.
Of course, Declan Rice.
Oh, yeah, that was...
Declan Rice will be under pressure, 105 million, 115 million pounds paid for Caicedo. He'll be under pressure. Rasmus Højlund at Man
by the way, 15 seconds, guys.
72 million. 72 million.
9.
No.
8.
Hold on.
7.
It's not 10 seconds here.
6. Yeah.
No. It's good. 12.
10.
9. 8.
7. 6. 5. 4. 3. 2. 1.
That's it. Shut.
No more deals.
Shut.
Finito.
Oh, we needed
the transfer window. Look, they're
bell.
showing it on Sky. It hasn't reached 10.
Big Ben.
Big Ben ain't reached 10. Look, he stopped.
Big Ben, man.
Hey, we still got a minute.
11, not 10.
My agent's
he reached 11 yet on there, hasn't he? Look, he stops. Look.
So are we in agreement then, what I said, which is that City have had the best window?
Time will tell.
Been considered.
I would lean towards.
Do we put our biasness aside?
I think it's hard to say one team. I think if I had to pick 3, if you like.
No.
One?
I can't pick one team,
Yeah, it's hard, man.
It's about 4.
I don't think because there's so many.
Will tell, and it will turn.
West Ham has been a good one.
2-1.
Chelsea. I know you lot don't like it. I like it. I like a lot of the players they've signed.
I don't think they've had
City. I think City.
I would say City then Arsenal. I really would. I mean, okay,
the Timber injury.
Robbie was right. The injury to Timber has put a little bit of shade on it.
They didn't have the injury to Timber, I'd have put Arsenal number 1. But because of that injury to Timber and the fact that we haven't replaced him,
and we got the marquee signing. And who did we beat to that signing?
I'd say number 2. I'd say probably City first.
Oh.
Second, maybe us. Maybe Liverpool in third. I think where Chelsea have done well is
Liverpool done well.
Chelsea have done well in getting rid of players.
What do you mean? Why are your eyes
You didn't
like
get
They've done better than you.
Actually, no. The only thing I would say with Liverpool is that some of your key targets
You've got a DM.
you didn't get, though, innit? You when you think about it, you didn't get Lavia, you didn't get Caicedo. You got embarrassed in it. No, it's not Liverpool.
Yeah, bro. Are we getting amnesia here?
What I said was that they had a better window than you guys. Madison's a good
Leave us
signing.
alone, man. Leave us alone.
See, look, you can
we
give
can't
it,
pick it on us for, man. I think said our thing ain't all that.
No, but your window's not bad because you brought in Brennan Johnson, you brought in
yeah, but
Madison.
you don't even rate Brennan Johnson.
No, but I think
there's a difference between thinking someone's completely useless. I don't think he's like an awful player or anything like that. I just don't think.
Yeah, but you said we could have
got better players, in my opinion. But I'm not like, Brennan Johnson's here.
I think as well with your window, you've got to consider where Chelsea would be up there as well, because you've got to consider as well players that you needed to get rid of, and they got rid of a lot of players that they got good money from as well. So Chelsea have got to be up there. Arsenal got rid of a load of players that they were trying to get rid of as well, so they did well on that. I don't know. Actually, I'm going to take Liverpool back out of that because listen, you brought in some good players, but you didn't get your main targets. You didn't get Caicedo, you didn't get Lavia. Remember, a few weeks ago, he was kind of a bit embarrassing, the situation with Liverpool. And then you're still under threat with Salah. So that's still a little threat, although I think he'll stay. And then Man United's window, You know, I always think as well, like the teams that have had the best windows are not scratching around on deadline day.
That's why.
And United just seem to be.
And can I just say as well, Robbie, that one signing that we've barely mentioned it, but that was a very good signing, and that's a goalkeeper, right?
Yeah. And I think West Ham had a good window as well because West Ham,
he's a very good keeper.
I think West Ham have had a very good window. They've got to be up there because when you think they lost their key guy in Declan Rice, the players they've replaced them with, you know what I mean, Kudos, Alvarez, Ward-Prowse, that's a very good window. They've spent well. And they've started the season well as well. So they've not really missed Declan Rice so far. So they've got to be up there. So, and Aston Villa as well.
Just rounding it off.
Villa in there, Newcastle with Tonali and that.
Just rounding things off for
Harvey
Tottenham.
Barnes is a good signing.
Spurs have now confirmed the Brennan Johnson signing, but Loris, Højbjerg, and Ndombele, Dyer, Sanchez, and Perisic still at the club.
That's what I'm saying. It's not getting rid of
Perisic is like, what do you say, fuck me for? I'm part of the team.
This guy here, JJ, says, I'm disappointed as an Arsenal fan in the window. It's my fault, he says. Your fault, Robbie. I mean,
there is one name I was quite happy to hear. Remain though.
Ndombele.
I didn't say anything.
Guess what Singh says? Liverpool is a much better window than last year. Cheers, mate. YNWA. But defenders missing. Hate that we missed out on Sangare to Nottingham Forest for just 35 to 40 million.
What about their window, Forest?
They had a good window, but again, they just it's loads of players. I don't know, man. I can't
but it arguably worked for them last season, didn't it? They signed 30 players. When they were going for a rough patch, everyone said, oh, you're going down. That transfer or that signings model is rubbish. And look, they stayed up.
By the skin of their teeth.
No, but they stayed up. They achieved their objectives.
I don't think they brought all those players to stay up by the skin of their teeth.
I think Steve Coops is definitely on a short leash this year.
Yeah.
Well,
not much, but a little
You
bit.
reckon?
Yeah.
You think so?
I think last year got the new deal, kept them up. This year it's like, we expect you to kick on because they backed him heavily in the summer as well. So
my understanding from speaking to Forest fans, and I know a couple, is that he's highly thought of.
Amongst the fans.
Yeah.
Confirmed, by the way, that Mason Greenwood's joined Getafe on loan from Manchester United.
He's got a result there, trust me.
I can't believe he's got a move, to be honest. But
why? Well, we won't go there.
Yeah, there's no need.
Anyway, right, that is it. The transfer window has closed for the 2023-24 season. I'd say some of the highlights of the window, the biggest names and biggest signings, got to be, you know, the Declan Rice one to Arsenal, Caicedo, Lavia saga, and those two going to Chelsea. Sobby, my mate Sobby, going to
that one's going to stick.
And actually go right back to the start of the transfer window. I think like the first big signing, McAllister.
Yeah, man.
Liverpool.
Don't underestimate Vardiol. Yeah. He's going to be very good.
Vardiol, great signing at Manchester City. Matthias Nunes as well. The players that went to Saudi Arabia. Neymar, like you said. Bobby Fabinho.
Benzema. Bobby and Fabinho.
Fabinho as well,
Yeah.
I think
all these players go. I'm getting old.
I can tell it's been a long transfer window.
Vodka in this area.
I think we all need a Madison to celebrate, man.
Madison to Tottenham.
I think, given the trouble that they had in goal last year with De Gea, I think Onana's going to be a good signing for Man United. Actually,
I was going to say that was one we kept overlooking. I think in terms of playing style and impact we were talking about, I think he is definitely going to be a needle mover. I just think the funny thing that's going to be with him is all the gaffes and mistakes he makes. Being bold and being courageous are going to be.
Well, you know what? He made a gaff.
Him being in the driver's seat on the weekend of that goal.
You know what? He made a gaff on the first game, but he didn't get called.
Yeah.
He gave away a penalty against Wolves and it wasn't.
Josh Wafflin says Premier League Paul is mad. Ibrahima Sangara leaving to sign for Forest. Fatty to Brighton. Crazy. He goes, great show. Thank you very much.
But really and truly, we know what it is. But when it's the Saudis, it's...
We talked about...
Let's leave that conversation for
Can I just say, we talked about... Salah. We talked about good windows.
Don't go anywhere.
We talked about good windows. We shouldn't forget Newcastle, man. Tonali, Harvey Barnes, and Lewis Hall.
Yeah, on loan as well.
Livramento
as well. So yeah.
All right. Well, listen, we're going to wrap it up now. Thank you very much for watching today. 6,000 of you have been consistently here all show, right? And we've loved it. All the super chats, all the comments. Thank you very much for that. I want to thank our panel. Thank you very much to Fuad, to Laurie, and also to AGT. And thanks to you guys. Don't forget, there is a Transfer Roundup Plus show that's going to be hosted by AGT, Saudi Arabia special, and he will be doing a countdown to the closing of the Saudi Arabia window.
Can I come?
Right, just to make sure that Salah stays.
You know what? When one window closes, another window opens. 2
versions available. You have one version in English, the other one in Arabic. All right. So
I'll be doing the translations, lads.
Well, listen, it's been a long 3 months. The window's got to be shorter, and we can all just rest a bit. We can have a lie-in.
Back to the season, bro. Trust me. European football begins now. Trust me, we ain't getting nowhere.
The big team starts right now. And listen, thank you very much for everybody who's been on today. Thank you, and we'll see you on the next one.
Peace.